proud clients of Signature Bank. We deliver high-quality, recycled and remanufactured auto parts to Chicago and Milwaukee. Our mission is simple: provide parts safely, reliably, with great customer satisfaction.
We process over 350 vehicles a month. With big banks, everything took forever. Layers of approvals and endless delays. At Signature Bank, one call got it done. Whether it's lending, deposits, or treasury management, they deliver fast. Signature Bank made us feel like family. That's a partnership we deeply appreciate.
Signature Bank helps local businesses succeed. Want to learn how Signature Bank can help turn your business vision into reality? Call Signature Bank at 773-467-5600 or visit signaturebank.bank. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender. When the seasons shift, you need a heating and cooling team you can trust to keep your home just right. That's where Arlington Heights Heating and Cooling, the original, comes in. This family-owned gem has been a local favorite for more than 45 years, sending only their own top-notch, highly trained technicians to your door. Whether it's a quick repair, a full installation, or anything in between, their work is unmatched, and their customer service feels like family. Keeping you cozy in the winter and cool in the summer, Arlington Heights Heating and Cooling delivers comfort you can count on. I've known Garrett and his family for years, and they are great friends of AM 560. Dial 847-545-1700 or visit arlingtonheightsheatingandcooling.com. Mention AM 560 and enjoy 20% off your first service call. Again, go to arlingtonheightsheatingandcooling.com. The original Arlington Heights Heating and Cooling, not the biggest, but absolutely the best.
John was an active man. He'd go for runs, walk the golf course, and always take the stairs instead of the elevator. But then bone-on-bone knee pain got in the way.
Ow!
And affected his mobility. It became too painful to even go for walks. And when it seemed like John's only option was knee replacement surgery, a friend told him about the Joint Relief Institute and their affordable, non-surgical knee pain relief. John met with the Joint Relief Institute and discovered their lubricating gel treatment could rejuvenate his lost cartilage. Safe, effective, no surgery. Long story short, John is now back to being active without pain or medication.
There is an alternative to knee replacement surgery. Stop living in pain. Call the Joint Relief Institute today, 708-315-6800, or visit jointreliefinstitute.com. Locations in Glenview, Oak Brook, and Orland Park. That's 708-315-6800. Medicare and most private insurance plans accepted. Reclaim your mobility with the Joint Relief Institute.
Did you know most remodeling mishaps start before construction even begins? Here's something else you should know. At Forever Remodeling, we do things differently. Every kitchen, bathroom, and basement project starts with smart planning, detailed 3D designs, a clear scope of work, and accurate pricing, all sorted out before you get started. No surprises, no stress, just beautiful results. Done right the first time. Visit foreverremodeling.com. That's the number 4, EVER, remodeling.com, and schedule your free in-home consultation today.
For over a decade, AM 560 has marked the start of summer with a night of cigar smoking and great conversation. And this year, we're proud to welcome the editor-in-chief of Breitbart News to Cigar Night. He's Alex Marlowe, and he'll join AM 560's Dan Proft and Sean Thompson on Tuesday, May 19th at Gobridge Farm in Pingree Grove for a night you won't forget. Tickets are on sale now at 560theanswer.com/cigar. That's 560theanswer.com/cigar. Sponsored by Donley Auctions.
It's May 12th, and this is your Fox Daily Snapshot. Today is National Limerick Day. Observed since 1984, the day celebrates the birthday of English poet Edward Lear, who popularized the nonsensical humorous poems in 1846, authoring the Book of Nonsense. A limerick follows a particular form. It's 5 lines where the first 2 lines rhyme with the 5th, and lines 3 and 4 rhyme with one another. Also on this date, in 1958, the U.S. and Canada signed an agreement forming the North American Air Defense Command, or NORAD. Created during the Cold War, its primary responsibility was to create a defensive air shield over North America to protect from a possible attack by the Russians. If it's your birthday today, you share it with the Lady with the Lamp, British nurse Florence Nightingale, born in 1820, and everyone's favorite dad from the fictional town of Springfield, Homer J. Simpson of The Simpsons, born in 1956. I'm Tushar Saxena with your Fox Daily Snapshot.
Everywhere you turn, it's plus, plus, plus. Retail chains, streamers, even our phones come with plus. And to think it all started with Hassellus Mattress, because nobody has more plus than us. Right now at Hassellus, get a Queen Beauty Sleep by Beautyrest Elm Cove A mattress. Others sell it for $1,459, but Hassellus has it for just $794. Plus, through Monday, you'll also get a free adjustable base. Plus, a huge selection of Beautyrest, Sealy Posturepedic, and other big name brands. Plus, free financing. Plus, free next day delivery and setup. Plus, free haul away and disposal of your old mattress. Plus, employee-free showrooms. Get all this, plus a whole lot more when you shop at Hassellus Mattress. Whew, all these pluses have me feeling nonplussed. Save big on Sealy Posturepedic, Beautyrest, and more every day from 9 to 9. Find an employee-free showroom near you or shop online at Hassellus.com.
Why would you take your precious metal collections to some fly-by-night roadshow that rolls into town once a year? The only thing you need to do is follow the road to Fox Valley Coins and show your gold or silver to the team. Gold is at an all-time historical high, so don't keep sitting on your coin hoards or old jewelry that you've been saving to sell when the time is right. The time is right now. Prices have never been better on most collector and gold coins. Fox Valley Coins in Naperville is trying to keep up with demand. So they're paying the most ever on not only most gold coins in bars, but also those old coin collections. You might have scarce dates or higher grade coins, so take advantage of the record high market price and the demand now. Whether you're buying or selling, or just want to find out values, trust the team at Fox Valley Coins. Fox Valley Coins is on Route 59, just one light north of I-88 at the Naperville-Warrenville border. Family-owned integrity since 1981.
This is a special alert to all Americans who own a vehicle with less than 200,000 miles with an auto warranty about to expire or with no warranty coverage at all. Due to a decline in the economy, CarShield is announcing a low-cost month-to-month vehicle protection plan that is now available to the public to save any driver out-of-pocket expenses on future auto repairs. Call now to find out how you can pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. Yes, you heard that correctly. Pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. An open phone line has been established for all drivers to call for a free quick quote. Call 800-869-2045 now. Drivers who are covered will not have to pay for covered repairs again. This protection plan is at an all-time low. Additionally, drivers who activate this vehicle protection today will also receive free roadside assistance, free towing, and car rental options at no additional cost. Call us for your free quick quote today. 800-869-2045. That's 800-869-2045. What do you have to lose? Call 800-869-2045. Again, 800-869-2045.
If you want unlimited talk, text, and data on a crazy fast network, Big Wireless will sell it to you right now for as little as $70 a month. Or you can buy it from Pure Talk for half of that. I'm talking about unlimited talk, text, and unlimited data for just $34.99 a month. Stop paying the big guys twice what you need to. Dial pound 250, say my name. That's pound 250, micro, to switch to Pure Talk, where the savings are truly unlimited.
Lots of places can expose you to identity theft, but that's why LifeLock monitors hundreds of millions of data points a second for threats to your identity, which is way more than anyone can do on their own. If they find anything suspicious, like new loans or changes in your financial accounts, they'll alert you right away, all through text, phone, email, or the LifeLock app. Get the alerts that can make all the difference. Save up to 40% off your first year with the promo code BECK. LifeLock.com, 800-LifeLock, 1-800-LifeLock, or LifeLock.com. Use the promo code BECK at LifeLock.com.
President Trump has triggered a $200 billion tech disruption, and Wall Street is asleep at the switch. This $200 billion investment in chip technology could make today's artificial intelligence chips obsolete. Technology that will make today's AI data centers a thing of the past, like IBM's old mainframes. While most investors are focused on old-fashioned AI, there are three companies quietly building a trillion-dollar triangle that could transform every tech sector on Earth. These three companies are gearing up to develop and manufacture supercomputers the size of a dinner plate. Institutions like Vanguard, BlackRock, and State Street are pouring more than $200 billion into this AI revolution. Investment guru George Gilder has been predicting tech revolutions for more than 40 years, including the iPhone, Netflix, and Amazon. Now he's got his finger on three companies whose technology will change tech forever. Log on to TrillionDollarTriangle.com to find out which three companies are working on what could be the biggest tech disruption since the internet. TrillionDollarTriangle.com. That's TrillionDollarTriangle.com.
Each morning, the newsmakers and the newsbreakers shaping today's conversation are heard on the AlphaWealthGroup.com answer line on Chicago's Morning Answer. When you need answers about what's happening in your world, you turn to AM 560 The Answer. And when you need answers about how to prepare for and protect your retirement, you turn to the Alpha Wealth Group, now the proud sponsor of the AM 560 answer line, right here on Chicago's source for news, opinion, and insight. AM 560 The Answer.
I remember sitting in the kitchen, heartbroken, overwhelmed, staring at costs and a list of decisions. I prayed for strength and reached out to Catholic Cemeteries of Chicago, only to hear that Mom had already pre-planned everything so my siblings and I would be protected. Because she planned ahead, we weren't pulled apart by heartbreaking decisions.
Visit CatholicCemeteriesChicago.org or call 708-236-5407 to schedule a free consultation.
Let Cole Digital turn your outdoor space into the ultimate entertainment setup. With a 75-inch SunBright outdoor TV that can stay out year-round and great sound throughout. Like planter speakers on the patio, high-quality rock speakers that blend right into your landscape, or bronze garden speakers that blend into the environment. Our technicians will dig a hole and install an in-ground subwoofer for incredible bass and the best in sound quality. We also install outdoor rated access points for Wi-Fi coverage throughout your yard, and cameras that let you keep an eye on everything with motion-activated recording. Tour our Cole Digital Design Center, 15,000 square feet of audio, video, and great design ideas. Cole Digital is family-owned by conservatives that share your values, and we're based right in Frankfurt. Visit Cole Digital today and schedule your consultation. ColeDigital.com. That's KOLE digital.com, or call 815-469-2000, and we'll bring the showroom to you. 815-469-2000. Cole Digital, what smart living is all about.
Picture warm Gulf breezes, turquoise waters, white sand beaches. Now, add evenings of conversation with Salem Media's Mike Gallagher, Scott Jennings, Larry O'Connor, and Jennifer Horn. This November, sail from Fort Lauderdale to the Bahamas, Jamaica, the Cayman Islands, and Mexico on a 7-day journey built for those who love this country. Book your cabin today when you text the word cruise to 94878. Celebrate America's 250th anniversary the right way on the Gulf of America Cruise. Book your cabin now. Text the word cruise to 94878.
I remember sitting in the kitchen, heartbroken, overwhelmed, staring at costs and a list of decisions. I prayed for strength and reached out to Catholic Cemeteries of Chicago, only to hear that Mom had already pre-planned everything so my siblings and I would be protected. Because she planned ahead, we weren't pulled apart by heartbreaking decisions.
Visit CatholicCemeteriesChicago.org or call 708-236-5407 to schedule a free consultation.
The following advertisement includes a celebrity impersonation.
The summer heat in Chicagoland is no joke. And if your old air conditioner is making funny noises, you may already know it's time for a new unit.
Look, your air conditioner, it's a disaster. People are telling me it's the worst ever.
Don't sweat it, literally. When it comes to cooling your home, Air Right Heating and Cooling does it the best.
And they love our country. Beautiful people.
Rebates are still available, financing is flexible, and at Air Right installations are smooth and professional with no surprises.
It's beautiful. Some people say it's the coolest air anyone's ever felt. I don't know. That's just what they're saying. It's doing an incredible job. Really tremendous.
Plus, tell them AM 560 sent you, and Air Right will give you $56 off any service. Visit Air Right Heating and Cooling today at AIR-RITE.com. Again, that's AIR-RITE.com. Air Right Heating and Cooling, doing it right since 1959.
President Trump has triggered a $200 billion tech disruption, and Wall Street is asleep at the switch. This $200 billion investment in chip technology could make today's artificial intelligence chips obsolete. Technology that will make today's AI data centers a thing of the past, like IBM's old mainframes. While most investors are focused on old-fashioned AI, there are 3 companies quietly building a trillion-dollar triangle that could transform every tech sector on Earth. These 3 companies are gearing up to develop and manufacture supercomputers the size of a dinner plate. Institutions like Vanguard, BlackRock, and State Street are pouring more than $200 billion into this AI revolution. Investment guru George Gilder has been predicting tech revolutions for more than 40 years, including the iPhone, Netflix, and Amazon. Now he's got his finger on 3 companies whose technology will change tech forever. Log on to TrillionDollarTriangle.com to find out which 3 companies are working on what could be the biggest tech disruption since the internet. TrillionDollarTriangle.com. That's TrillionDollarTriangle.com.
Let Cole Digital turn your outdoor space into the ultimate entertainment setup. With a 75-inch SunBright outdoor TV that can stay out year-round and great sound throughout. Like planter speakers on the patio, high-quality rock speakers that blend right into your landscape, or bronze garden speakers that blend into the environment. Our technicians will dig a hole and install an in-ground subwoofer for incredible bass and the best in sound quality. We also install outdoor-rated access points for Wi-Fi coverage throughout your yard, and cameras that let you keep an eye on everything with motion-activated recording. Tour our Cole Digital Design Center, 15,000 square feet of audio, video, and great design ideas. Cole Digital is family-owned by conservatives that share your values, and we're based right in Frankfurt. Visit Cole Digital today and schedule your consultation. ColeDigital.com. That's KOLE Digital.com. Or call 815-469-2000, and we'll bring the showroom to you. 815-469-2000. Cole Digital, what smart living is all about.
Picture warm Gulf breezes, turquoise waters, white sand beaches. Now, add evenings of conversation with Salem Media's Mike Gallagher, Scott Jennings, Larry O'Connor, and Jennifer Horn. This November, sail from Fort Lauderdale to the Bahamas, Jamaica, the Cayman Islands, and Mexico on a 7-day journey built for those who love this country. Book your cabin today when you text the word cruise to 94878. Celebrate America's 250th anniversary the right way on the Gulf of America Cruise. Book your cabin now. Text the word cruise to 94878. Now, your official weather forecast.
Today will be mostly cloudy with increasing wind and warmer temperatures. Expect a few showers this afternoon, possibly accompanied by gusty winds and small hail. The high will reach 73 degrees. Tonight there is a chance of a thunderstorm in some areas during the evening. Otherwise, it'll be partly cloudy and windy with a low of 51 degrees. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com.
Portions of the following show may be pre-recorded.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. Interesting that as much time as we've spent talking about the LA mayor's race because of the relatively unique and insurgent campaign of Spencer Pratt, former reality TV star, sort of lost track of the governor's race a bit, although we did talk about the debate last week that was national in broadcast because it was on CNN. So it has national implications, of course. Governor of California. And despite the fact that you had the Swalwell exit to winnow the field of neo-Marxists, you sort of had this sort of rotating frontrunner for them. It went from Steyer, and then it was Javier Becerra and Katie Porter, seeming to make a bit of a move. But in point of fact, at least according to recent polling, you still have the real possibility of both Steve Hilton and Chad Bianco making the runoff. And it seems like the more that California is in the news, the more it buoys the prospects of the two Republicans. You know, Chad Bianco's the sheriff, and of course Steve Hilton, former Fox News host. And it's just story after story, the salient issues of the day, where national attention is focused on California being the bad example. And if that's only being compounded by what's going on in LA, I mean, could you imagine? Could you imagine California going from seemingly this inexorably leftist state that was going to essentially crater under its own weight to having a Steve Hilton or a Chad Bianco for governor and a Spencer Pratt for L.A.? Politics can be very volatile, particularly in these times. 312-642-5600 is the alphawealthgroup.com call-in and text line. And Steve Hilton's having a moment this week, too, because of this populist gambit by one Patrick Bateman, or Sparkle Beach Ken meets Patrick Bateman, as Scott Besson termed him, talking about Gavin Newsom and this $20 million diaper deal. So while Californians are paying $6 and $7 at the pump, Gavin Newsom is trying to make a play for those young families, all those awfuls and rawfuls that actually did have a child, whether that's with a male human or not, is beside the point. $20 million to provide free diapers to all new babies born in the state. That's the Golden State Start Initiative. I think I like Trump's $1,000 in a investment account better, but okay. And it's being done in partnership with a nonprofit, Baby to Baby. Well, Guy Benson reporting for Fox News on Baby to Baby. Of course, that's a populist grift, and then there's the secondary layer of the grift.
Some critics wonder if the money might be. The $20 million will go to a nonprofit group called Baby to Baby to distribute the diapers, and the CEO of that group reportedly sits on the board of a nonprofit run by Gavin Newsom's wife.
And there you have it, of course. It's an insider deal. Get a load of that, won't you, if I may. And Steve Hilton's moment on this issue was to do a little bit of diaper shopping, compare and contrast the cost per diaper that this $20 million buys when it's a NGO gambit for a favored Newsom NGO and ally, as opposed to, what if you just actually went to, I don't know, Costco and paid retail?
All right, so Gavin Newsom is taking $20 billion of your money to send 100,000 babies 400 diapers. That works out at 50 cents per diaper. We just came into Target to check out what you could buy it for in the store. Here you go. Just check this one out here. $162, $26. That works out at 16 cents per diaper.
Right, so he's paying 50 cents a diaper to funnel $20 million of state money to this partner nonprofit, as opposed to you could pay a third of that cost if you just went to Costco. The grifts. Every angle, even free diapers, is a grift. 312-642-5600. Some other related news, though, in the governor's race. Tom Steyer, I mean, this is rather remarkable. Tom Steyer, the billionaire who made his money investing in fossil fuels, for-profit prisons. I mean, he got the endorsement of the Democrat Socialists, the DS. He's the DSA candidate. And they said in their statement, we'll just have to see if he's saying all the right things. We'll just have to see if he gets in, if he ends up being a class traitor or the real McCoy. But that's great because it just continues to create tumult and confusion within the ranks of the neo-Marxists, carving up that vote such that you could have a Hilton or a Bianco, Hilton and a Bianco escape into the runoff. A Republican governor of California, and effectively, he doesn't call himself this, but effectively a Republican Republican mayor of L.A. Wow. It's hard to get your mind around that, actually. Things could change so dramatically, so quickly. And frankly, almost entirely due to the self-inflicted wounds of the left. Now, to be fair, you have to have people that are capable enough to take advantage of the moment, and Spencer Pratt is proving capable, and to a lesser extent, Hilton and Bianco are as well. We have the possibility of such a moment in Illinois. Those who are capable to take advantage of said moment seems to be the ingredient we're missing. And, again, going back to the quality of life and where California finds itself, right with Illinois in the bottom in every quality of life indice. But maybe there is some real weariness, not just with the diapers, but as I mentioned before, at the pump. And Doug Burgum, Secretary of the Interior, had this distillation, the California energy problem recently. You know, the Strait of Hormuz is not a big deal to America, as Trump has pointed out repeatedly, in terms of fulfilling our energy needs, right? Yeah, it has an impact on global prices, of course. But there is one state, actually, it does have an impact on in terms of fulfilling energy needs.
California's leading in a couple things. They're going to lead in highest energy prices. They're going to lead in the highest taxes, and then they're going to lead in out-migration. Those are three things. And I'm not being sarcastic. That's just all true. And, of course, the last thing I'll say is at the time of this recent conflict with Iran, California was the only state that was dependent on oil coming through the Strait of Hormuz. 60%, 2 out of 3 barrels of oil comes into California by ship. They've blocked every pipeline. They've blocked transmission lines. They've turned themselves proudly into an energy island. And then they're complaining, to this administration about their high energy prices. And even last year, they want to blame the current conflict. Last year, their lowest price in the year was higher than the highest prices in virtually every other state in America. I mean, this was a condition that they created for themselves long before the current conflict, but it's going to get worse for them going forward. And we're doing everything we can to try to help. We've tried to reestablish offshore. They're sitting on massive piles of oil. They were the Kuwait of the Jazz Age. Back in the 20s, they were one of the largest producers of oil in the world, and they've shut down that whole thing. We authorize offshore drilling on federal land. We got that going. They're trying to block the pipelines that are coming in, which would then help them. They used to have 40 refineries. They went down to 8. Now they've got 6. And so Texas, by comparison, has got 36 refineries going to 37.
Remarkable. Yeah, it's the self-inflicted disintegration of a great state, a great city, L.A., the same thing that's happening in Illinois, the same thing that's happening in New York. But the political dynamics are turning out to be very different in California this election cycle than they are in those other 2 failed states, aren't they? All right, let's check the headlines with Mike Scott.
44 degrees this morning in Chicago. At 5:32, mostly cloudy, becoming windier and warmer with a couple of afternoon showers. President Trump says the ceasefire with Iran is now on life support.
Say it like it is. Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. They're very dangerous. They're very volatile. It's a terrible thing that's happened over there. They've killed 42,000 people.
The president is also set to depart for China today to meet with Chinese President Xi. Meantime, a Southern California mayor this morning was apparently an illegal agent for China. Former Arcadia Mayor Eileen Wang pleaded guilty in court late Monday to spreading pro-China propaganda in the U.S. with a fake news website. A man seriously injured in a shootout involving Chicago police. The shooting happened last night around 10:35 in the 3100 block of East 83rd, according to Chicago police. And a woman was killed by police officers in suburban Mundelein on Monday. Officers were called to a home on Ashbrook Drive around 6 p.m. The Lake County, Illinois Major Crimes Task Force says police told them a woman rushed at them with 2 large knives, and she was then shot by one of the officers. The woman died at a nearby hospital. Chicago City Council committee believes Chicago taxpayers should help pay for a development near the United Center on the west side.
These parking lots have been a very clear gray divide between what is a beautiful community in Garfield Park and the economic viability of Fulton Market.
Alderman Walter Burnett, the Committee on Economic, Capital, and Tech Development, voted unanimously to provide more than $57 million in tax breaks for the first phase of the 1901 project. 27th Ward resident Dan Ola says no.
Burnett and Johnson are giving away $55 million of relief to the 1901 project and a $55 million tax increase for the rest of us.
The project's planned by owners of the Bulls and Blackhawks. Cubs and Atlanta. White Sox host the Royals. The News is a service of True Green, the easiest way to get a golf course quality lawn. Don't wait. Sign up at truegreen.com and get your first application for $9.95. Let the pros do the work so you can enjoy your weekend. Hurry, offer ends 5/21. Restrictions do apply. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, and in 2 minutes, a check of your morning weather on the AM from the AM 560 Weather Center.
Larry Elder didn't see any coverage.
This is in 2018. After litigation backed by Democrat-aligned groups, the Pennsylvania Supreme Court threw out the GOP congressional map. A new map drawn by the court dramatically shifted outcomes. It went from 13 Republicans, 5 Democrats, to 9 and 9. Overnight. Where were you when that happened? Where was the media?
The Larry Elder Show. Weeknights at 8, right before Sean Hannity at 10 on AM 560. The Answer.
Ever wonder what the Greek god slept on?
Huh?
You know, like Aphrodite.
The goddess of love.
Do you think she had a heart-shaped bed?
Maybe.
And Hades, god of the underworld.
I suppose he slept on a trundle bed. I think the Greek gods would have loved the Nevaeh bedroom from Penny Mustard.
Well, Nevaeh is heaven backwards.
And sleeping in the Nevaeh bedroom is heavenly. Sophisticrafted, sleek, and sturdy.
Along with forever tight bed brackets.
An interchangeable fabric headboard.
Smooth, full extending steel drawer slides.
And drawer bottoms strong enough to stand on. A bedroom fit for a king. You mean a Zeus?
Yeah, but not Poseidon.
Why not? Here it comes.
He'd have a waterbed.
The Nevaeh bedroom, starting at just $168 a month, with no interest and no payments till May of 2029, through May 31st at Penny Mustard. 6 Chicagoland showrooms. PennyMustard.com.
Better versions of what people want.
Penny Mustard Furnishing.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm.
Ask yourself this question. Is it really worth holding on to that timeshare that you know you need to get rid of? Here's the truth. The average maintenance fee just went up over 17%. That could have been 117%, and there's nothing you can do about it. When you buy a timeshare, you give them a blank check for annual maintenance and assessment fees. I'm Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group. For 15 years, I've helped over 50,000 families cancel their timeshare. Not sell it, not transfer it, cancel it. Did you buy a timeshare because they told you it was a great investment and your maintenance fees would never go up? That's a lie. Are you ready to get rid of your timeshare once and for all? Simply call us and I'll send you our timeshare exit kit that explains all your options for cancellation.
Call Wesley now for your timeshare exit kit. 800-682-3311. That's 800-682-3311. 800-682-3311.
Hi, I'm Ken Mariotti, owner of Woodland Windows and Doors, a third-generation family-owned business since 1969. We know you're bombarded by choices when shopping for new windows or doors, so we're inviting you to experience the Woodland difference. For decades, we have been transforming living spaces with Marvin Windows, a fifth-generation family business. Marvin replacement windows have been known to increase the warmth of your cold rooms by 10 degrees. Think about that, 10 degrees warmer. When you welcome Woodland into your home, you will get a product expert to transform your living spaces, full-time, dedicated professional installers that you can trust in your home, along with the best products like Marvin. These are the reasons we're proud of our 5-star reviews and family legacy. No gimmicks, no pressure, and upfront pricing are why Woodland Windows and Doors is your trusted window and door expert in Chicagoland. Visit woodlandwindows.com to book your free in-home expert consultation. That's woodlandwindows.com, or stop by our showroom at the corner of Lake and Geary in Roselle.
Eggland's Best, the only eggs with more fresh and delicious taste, plus superior nutrition. Eggland's Best. Better taste, better nutrition, better eggs.
Now, your official weather forecast.
Today will be mostly cloudy with increasing wind and warmer temperatures. Expect a few showers in the afternoon, possibly accompanied by gusty winds and small hail. The high will reach 73 degrees. Tonight, there is a chance of a thunderstorm in some areas during the evening. Otherwise, it'll be partly cloudy and windy with a low of 51 degrees. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com.
This hourly segment is sponsored by Protecting Your Assets with Steve Shyman.
Listen Saturday mornings at 8. Learn more at willsave.com.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. If you're looking for the latest news, insight into what it means, and the sharpest opinion, there's only one station in Chicago where you can turn, and it's this one. We're AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. Our friend Gad Saad, the marketing professor from Strange Brewerland up in Canada, he has a new book out called Suicidal Empathy, Dying to Be Kind. A little play on words there. Suicidal empathy. It's something we've talked, pathological empathy is another way it's been described. Empathy, writes Saad, is an admirable virtue. As a social species, we've evolved the capacity for empathy. We seek prospective spouses and close friends who exhibit this trait. We look for empathetic healthcare providers, be they physicians, therapists, or vets. But suicidal empathy, that modifier is important. He describes as the misfiring of an adaptive virtue in ways that result in the willful suicide of one's civilization. As historian Arnold Toynbee observed, civilizations die from suicide, not from murder. And that's what we have been documenting on this show for the last decade, is what the West has been doing to itself to varying degrees in varying countries. Suicidal empathy. Let me give you an example of what I think Saad is talking about. Identitarianism is the source of so many societal ills, so much suicidal empathy. And it's the case in the example I'm going to provide. New York City woman declined to press charges against the subway shover, as he's being described, because quote, she didn't want to put another black man in jail, unquote. Weeks later, you've probably seen the video or heard the story. He's the guy who randomly, for no reason, pushed a 76-year-old man down the steps at a subway station in New York and killed him. 76-year-old retired teacher who works with special needs kids. Came up from, guy was walking down towards the stairs to go down into the subway. This guy walked by him and essentially threw him down the stairs, killed him. A 23-year-old woman anonymously detailed how she and a friend narrowly escaped this same individual, the killer, after he allegedly attacked them while riding the subway on April 2nd. She told the New York Post she completely regrets her decision not to work with prosecutors after he was charged with murder on Friday for shoving 76-year-old Ross Falzone down a flight of stairs to his death at a subway station Thursday night. She told the New York Post, quote, we started running a little bit, but then thank God the cops were right there, because, we kept thinking about, imagine that there were no cops. We would have had to literally run for our lives. The cops, they immediately arrested him. It was shut down really fast by the cops, and we respected that. The woman claimed the situation left her in shock, but she did not pursue any further action against her attacker. Quote, maybe a part of me was just like, I don't want to put another black man in jail, but at some point, if you're a criminal, you're a criminal. And he was scary. He was a scary guy. 312-642-5600, alphawealthgroup.com. Answer line, call in line and text line if you want to opine on manifestations of suicidal empathy when we see them on a daily basis in Chicago, of course, from civilians and electeds alike, don't we? A society totally given over to suicidal empathy, or, you know, the word I always use is sentimentality. We talked about this a bit on Friday with Glenn Reynolds, per his new book, Seductive AI, that it's this very misapplication of empathy, sentimentality, tenderness, as Flannery O'Connor would say. Tenderness in the absence of faith, which leads to forced labor camps and the fumes of a gas chamber, as she wrote. And she's right. This is what we're talking about. Real world cases. And by the way, that applies to the judge in the case as well. The judge in the case, because this guy was a habitual offender, on February 2nd, he assaulted officers. He was released 2 days later. No cash bail. They got a version of the Safety Act in New York City. They've eliminated cash bail too. Don't forget. 2 weeks later, February 14th, burglary on the subway, released 11 days later. No cash bail. Zero bail. February 25th, brings a knife on a train, released 5 days later, no bail. Assaults woman on a train on March 2nd, supervised release, no bail. Taken to a mental hospital on May 7th, released an hour later. 5 hours later, he pushed that 76-year-old man to his death down those subway stairs. So, conversation about the justice system, I think, is in order, as we have so many of these in Chicago. So, the judge in the case, Marva Brown is her name. This gives you a little bit of an insight into who Marva Brown is and how she approaches her job as a New York City judge.
I'm Marva Brown. I'm a judge currently in Manhattan Criminal Court. Being elected to the civil court has given me a 10-year term where some people believe I now have the autonomy to be my authentic self on the bench and make decisions without fear of reprisals. That might be contrary to what mainstream media, people that don't see value in my people, in our community, agree with.
My people.
The personal effect of having an incarcerated family member is very strong with me and the work that I do each and every day, because I know that there are so many reasons why people end up involved in the criminal legal system. And so for me, getting to know my clients, getting to know their stories and why they ended up in court, why they ended up with cases, what their family and home life and community life became a priority to me. And so when I think of my career as a public defender and saying I need to be in that decision-making role, that decision-making process as a judge, we have to have people on the bench who see value in the people's lives and that come from our communities. And for me, the transition from attorney and advocate to judge is one that I see not only to affect the people who appear in front of me, but also to be counsel and advisor to other judges that sit in my courthouse and provide my life experience, my professional experience, because frankly, most judges don't come from a public defender background. Most don't come even from criminal backgrounds that actually sit in the criminal courts. And so when you think of who's deciding these cases, who's reviewing these cases, we need not necessarily diversity of skin color, right, but diversity of professional experience, life experience. And so that has been part of my mission to say we need to expand what the judiciary looks like in the state of New York and beyond.
No, but not by skin color. No, of course not. Which is why you use the phrase, my people. You use the phrase, our community. Contrary to what mainstream media people who don't see value in my people Who are you talking about? Excuse me, former public defenders? I don't think so. And I know you don't think so either. The personal effect of having incarcerated family members is very strong with me and the work I do each and every day. Well, that's fine right up until the point of suicidal empathy. Judge Marva Brown released the man who pushed that 76-year-old man to his death under supervision after he was accused of third-degree assault for attacking a couple despite having 2 prior violent arrests just days earlier. One of those arrests came after he assaulted a cop and resisted arrest while officers were trying to detain him for bringing a knife onto the subway. Yeah, boy, you couldn't put the pieces together to conclude that he may pose a public safety threat. This is Judge Like all over again, isn't it? So, you know, we having this conversation about L.A. in particular. Now, I'm going to get to fold in the California governor's race, too, because of the mess that the neo-Marxists have made of it. Goody. But just as we talk about, at some point, somebody is going to win a race in one of these cities that are dying under the weight of the suicidal empathy, authentic or performative, doesn't matter. The result is the same, of the electeds. And maybe Spencer Pratt is that surprise candidate who wins a race he wouldn't otherwise win if the disintegration wasn't so pronounced. Well, that goes for the judiciary, too. Somebody somewhere, just like a prosecutor's office, DAs and chief judges, somebody somewhere in one of these big cities that is just releasing predators time and again to prey on the lawful residents of the city, county, state. Somebody is going to announce a vibe shift, if you will, a paradigm shift, and say, we're not doing this anymore. And as chief judge, I am going to instruct judges accordingly that, yeah, I understand what the law says about no cash bail or in Illinois context, the Safety Act. But we still maintain some judicial discretion, and there is still this determination that needs to be made if about somebody being a public safety threat. And we are going to give, maybe you don't announce this exactly this way, but we are going to essentially give prosecutors the benefit of the doubt when they present a solid evidentiary case that this person is a public safety threat and he should be remanded pending trial. That's going to happen somewhere. And like I said, with a surprise victor in a big city mayor's race, I don't know exactly where or when or who, but it's going to happen because most people across the political spectrum see a case like this 76-year-old man pushed to his death down the subway stairs in New York, minding in his own business and playing by the rules in his life, by all accounts, at the hands of a repeat violent offender and say, no. And there's this interesting study out of Sweden, too. I mean, this is very consistent with what we know from our conversations with, say, Raphael Mangual over at the Manhattan Institute. The study looked at recidivism. What proportion, they were attempting to answer the question, what proportion of violent crime would be prevented if recidivism stopped after the nth conviction? First conviction, second conviction, third conviction, fourth conviction, fifth conviction. They looked at data from all Swedes born between 1958 and 1980. I'm looking retrospectively to inform policy prospectively. And to think about policies like 3 strikes and you're out, for example. And depending on the crime, perhaps One strike and you're out. What proportion of violent crime would be prevented if recidivism stopped after the nth conviction? After the first conviction? So if you remove people from society after the first violent crime conviction, almost 80% of recidivism. Almost 80% of violent crime would be stopped. If you were one and done, 80% of violent crime they found. Two and done, a little over 60%. Three and done, a little over, about 50%. Four and done, still over 40%. Five and done, just under 40%. Six, and so on and so forth, all the way out to 24. In places like Chicago, Cook County, you would have to take that out to 55, 60, 65 arrests. But the point is to say those people with 24 arrests for violent crimes, or in Cook County, 50, 55, 60, 70 arrests, all of that violent crime would have been eliminated, or most of it, if you had some sort of sensible, like 3 strikes and you're out, as it pertains to violent crime. So as all of these questions turn out to be, it's not a question of we don't know what to do, we're throwing up our hands. And I understand you have to balance freedom versus order. And of course you respect people's constitutional rights, but there is no constitutional right to commit X number of violent crimes. To remove somebody from society permanently when everyone is on notice that if you commit 3 violent crimes, you're going in and you're not coming out. I don't think that's violative of cruel and unusual punishment. In fact, I know it's not. And I don't think the Supreme Court would find it to be. So, we know what to do to make these particularly big cities and urban centers safer. It's just a political will question. And as I said, somewhere, someday in the not too distant future, some electorate is going to find the political will to install people who will do just that. Dan Proft, Chicago's Morning Answer.
This is Chicago's Morning Answer.
Your show keeps me alive during the week. There's nobody I'd rather listen to between 5 and 9 in the morning than you guys.
On AM 560, The Answer. Sign up for the AM 560 Answer Advantage to get early alerts on event ticket sales, special discounts, and contest opportunities. Sign up today at 560theanswer.com/advantage.
Food, fuel, jobs. It all starts with homegrown Illinois corn. Driving a $148 billion economic impact, corn supports thousands of jobs and strengthens communities across our state. It's advancing cleaner burning biofuels, expanding plant-based manufacturing, and growing a renewable economy. Illinois corn isn't just an agricultural success, it's a strategic investment in energy, innovation, and economic growth. See what's possible at ilcorn.org.
Platform safety is critical at your commercial and industrial facility. Keeping people safe and meeting OSHA requirements isn't optional. That's why Vans Industrial offers free platform inspections by professional structural engineers who know exactly what to look for. Problems with platforms, ladders, or stairs can lead to costly fines or worse. Vans Industrial helps you meet OSHA standards to protect people in your facility.
Hi, I'm Dave Van Camp, president of Vans Industrial. With decades of experience, I bring long-standing industry knowledge from inspecting, correcting, and replacing countless platforms to make facilities safer. Vans Industrial is a specialty contractor equipped to modify or replace steel catwalks, handrails, stairways, and ladders. Our union building trades professionals fabricate and install high-quality steel systems that create safer work environments.
Call 833-VANS-IND for a free platform inspection by professional structural engineers. See what else we can do for you. Visit vansindustrial.com. That's VANS Industrial.com.
Gain insight into building strong marriages and raising godly children with Focus on the Family with Jim Daly each weekday at 11:30 a.m. on our sister station, AM 1160. Hope for your life. AM 560, The
Answer.
All right, coming up at 6:06, we turn our attention to more exposés on benefits fraud or gaming the system by refugee facilitators, as they're termed. Takes us to Clarkston, Georgia. We'll start there at 6:06. It's now 6 o'clock on AM 560 WIND.
Another hantavirus positive test in Spain. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. Someone else who was on that stricken cruise ship that's been evacuated. The AP reports 11 positive cases so far. But the World Health Organization's director, Dr. Tedros Ghebreyesus, maintains the risk is low.
At the moment, there is no sign that we are seeing the start of a larger outbreak.
But it can take weeks for the hantavirus to show symptoms, so a Dutch hospital is going to quarantine 12 staff members for 42 days for mishandling a patient's blood and waste, potentially exposing them. 16 Americans taken off the ship are isolated at the University of Nebraska. One who tested positive is in a biocontainment unit. So is one of the two people taken to Atlanta because of mild symptoms. As for others who got off the ship earlier...
Right now, Georgia, Texas, Virginia, Arizona, California, New York, Maryland, and Nebraska are all monitoring people for potential symptoms.
That's Fox's Alex Hogan. Now to the Iran conflict.
The Middle East is bracing for the possibility that the region returns to war in the days ahead. Iran's parliament speaker, Mohammad Khalibaf, posted to X overnight saying, "Our armed forces are ready to deliver a well-deserved response to any aggression. Mistaken strategy and mistaken decisions will always lead to mistaken results. The whole world has already figured this out. We are prepared for all options. They will be surprised."
That's Fox's Trey Yingst in Tel Aviv as Israel sends Iron Dome defense systems to the United Arab Emirates. Iran's attacked the UAE numerous times. This after President Trump rejected Iran's counter-proposal as garbage, saying the ceasefires on life support.
It's unbelievably weak.
Later today, he heads to Beijing, where the president will hold talks with China's leader, and the Iran conflict will likely be a big issue. China relies heavily on Iran for oil, but the U.S. military continues to blockade Iran's ports, and the price of oil is rising almost 4%. WTI back at $102 a barrel almost. At the gas pump, though, a 2-cent decline today. AAA's national average for regular $4.50 a gallon. America's listening to Fox News.
In Chicago, 44 degrees. On AM 560, The Answer. Good morning. I'm Mike Scott in the QC Kinetics newsroom. Cloudy with a windy and warmer afternoon, along with a couple of showers. A man seriously hurt in a shootout involving Chicago police. It happened last night in the 3100 block of East 83rd. According to police, officers stopped a man who had a gun during the stop. Shots were fired, and the suspect was struck, then transported in serious condition to the University of Chicago Hospital. Cook County judge is delaying a ruling on whether to appoint a special prosecutor to investigate possible crimes committed by federal agents during Operation Midway Blitz. A coalition of activist attorneys and left-wing groups argue that federal agents may have violated the law. Chicago officials made their pitch to bring the Democratic National Convention back to the city. DNC committee officials arrived in town yesterday. They're fighting with Atlanta, Boston, Denver, and Philadelphia for the right to host. Authorities are trying to determine the cause of death of a passenger who died on a flight from Chicago to Mexico over the weekend. That passenger experienced a medical emergency. The pilot landed at Monterey International Airport, where the passenger was pronounced dead. State lawmakers want to try and ban the ability for Illinoisans to carry a firearm while around polling places. Citing a rise in political violence, State Rep Bob Morgan told lawmakers during a joint hearing last week his bill will address the safety of poll workers and voters. He believes
concerns about possible voter intimidation have prompted an increasing number of states to do exactly this.
Republican State Representative C.D. Davidsmeyer was critical of that proposal.
If they're going to do this, they're going to do this without a concealed carry. I think that we're doing something here to make government feel better while taking the wrong precaution.
A bill that would do just that has sat in the legislature, not moving since 2024. Cubs on the road in Atlanta. White Sox host the Royals. The news, a service of the AM 560 Advantage. Join today at 560theanswer.com/join. A check of the roads comes your way in 2 minutes on AM 560, The Answer.
For over a decade, AM 560 has marked the start of summer with a night of cigar smoking and great conversation. And this year, we're proud to welcome the editor-in-chief of Breitbart News to Cigar Night. He's Alex Marlowe, and he'll join AM 560's Dan Proft and Sean Thompson on Tuesday, May 19th at Gobert's Farm in Pingree Grove for a night you won't forget. Tickets are on sale now at 560theanswer.com/cigar. That's 560theanswer.com/cigar. Sponsored by Liberty Cigar Company. Don't miss In Grace with Pastor Jim Scudder Jr., now heard on Sunday mornings at 7:30. Tune in and find hope as Jim Scudder explores God's Word and His world each Sunday morning right here on AM 560, The Answer.
If you're over 65 and struggling with knee pain, Joint Relief Institute offers a guaranteed way to treat it. It's non-surgical and often covered by Medicare and private insurance. It's JRI's Joint Arthritis Treatment, knee lubrication placement that's so accurate it's 100% guaranteed and can relieve your knee and shoulder pain in 10 minutes or less. Book your risk-free consultation today and get back to walking, golfing, pickleball to cycling without pain or medication. Call 708-315-6800. Meet the provider, get an x-ray and joint consultation. Why wait? JRI has treated over 30,000 Chicagoans and performed over 400,000 procedures. You could be next. Over 5,000 five-star Google reviews can't be wrong.
Stop living in pain. Call the Joint Relief Institute today, 708-315-6800, or visit jointreliefinstitute.com. Locations in Glenview, Oak Brook, and Orland Park. That's 708-315-6800 for the Joint Relief Institute. Medicare and most private insurance plans accepted.
Take the journey of living a happy, successful, and meaningful life through God. Listen to It's Time with Dan Lights, Sunday mornings at 9 on our sister station, AM 1160. Hope for your life.
At 6:06, Team Hochberg Traffic Center time, a service of the AM 560 mobile app. Listen to AM 560 on your smartphone or mobile device when you download the AM 560 mobile app, 560theanswer.com/mobile. Tri-State trouble spot northbound between the Reagan, I-88, and the Eisenhower. The Reagan itself eastbound jamming up Roosevelt into the Tri-State. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. But first, a check of your forecast in the Air Right Heating and Cooling Weather Center.
Today will be mostly cloudy with increasing wind and warmer temperatures. Expect a few showers in the afternoon, possibly accompanied by gusty winds and small hail. The high will reach 73 degrees. Tonight, there is a chance of a thunderstorm in some areas during the evening. Otherwise, it'll be partly cloudy and windy with a low of 51 degrees. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com.
This hourly segment is brought to you by Goldilocks, offering 24/7 security solutions for homes and businesses. Call them today at 708-889-5600.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here, doing a little business here. Tickets still on sale for Cigar Night. That's going to be up at Gobert's Farm in Pingree Grove. Or no, isn't that? Yeah. I'm going by memory here. Yeah, that's right. My memory's good. We're, of course, Dennis Prager is not doing Cigar Nights anymore. Per his medical condition. But tickets are on sale, as I said, and we've got Alex Marlowe, the editor-in-chief of Breitbart, will be joining Sean and I That is a week from today, next week, May 19th. Again, Gobert's Farm in Pingree Grove. Fine cigars, great conversation. VIP tickets, I think there's still a few VIP tickets, and general admission tickets are also available. 560answer.com/cigar. That's 560answer.com/cigar. You don't have to be a cigar smoker to attend. And Gobert's Farm has this awesome event space. We did it there last year. It was great. It's sponsored by Liberty Cigar Company, Virago, and by Donnelly Auctions as well. Again, that's 560answer.com/cigar. Another housekeeping, but I didn't get to a call last hour, but I saw the question was, do you have to be a lawyer to be a judge? And the answer is generally yes, with one exception. The one court where you can be a presiding judge or a justice and you don't have to be a lawyer, it's unusual, to say the least, but the Supreme Court. Our founders, in their infinite wisdom, did not make being an officer of the court a prerequisite to being a Supreme Court justice. I wonder what insight they were playing out there. All right, want to get to benefits fraud. I was unaware of this. Two independent journalists, of course it requires the independent journalists, although I do have to say, again, that in some cities, like Minneapolis, you have had the local network affiliates actually investigating and doing reporting on benefits fraud, actually dating back pre-Nick Shirley and some of these independent journalists. So, I mean, we do have to give credit where credit's due. I know that doesn't happen in Chicago, but it does happen in other places, even in otherwise blue states. So we've got two more independent journalists here, because this is not just all on Nick Shirley. I mean, I get text. I got one the other day. When can Nick Shirley come to Chicago or come to Illinois? We have 13 million, probably 12 million people here now. Nobody can do a little gumshoe work like Nick Shirley. There are independent journalists, people doing this all over. There are people doing it in Lewiston, Maine, all over the country. But I guess we don't have anybody with that sort of initiative. David Cate, and a guy who goes by Fabian, Political Fabian, is his handle on X. They posed the question, what does $5 billion for refugee resettlement programs in the United States actually look like? Well, they went to what is dubbed Refugee City of America to find out. It's rather remarkable. This is in an area, this is in Clarkston, Georgia, in Atlanta, just outside of Atlanta, I guess. I'm not familiar with Clarkston. And, well, this is what David Cate and Fabian found.
Congress is trying to give $5 billion of your money for refugee resettlement programs, and then it ends up in places like
this. This is the International Rescue Committee, the largest refugee NGO in the country. They get the government funds and subcontract the work out to places like
this. This is the Somali American Community Center. It receives grants from the IRC in order to help refugees resettle in America.
But when we went in, we found this.
An almost completely abandoned retail space which hasn't filed taxes in almost 10 years.
Where almost every business is focused on getting refugees on taxpayer-funded welfare programs.
And that is how the largest refugee city in the country is funded.
And how over 87% of Somali immigrants end up on taxpayer-funded public assistance.
We spent 3 days in Little Somalia in Atlanta, Georgia.
The largest refugee center in the entire country. And this is what we found.
I know there's people poo-pooing the idea that Biden flew migrants into the U.S. Didn't happen. What these programs that people are pointing to are not what they say they are. For example, this guy with an immigrant rights group, the closest thing was the parole programs, which allowed some Ukrainians, Cubans, Haitians, Nicaraguans, and Venezuelans to come here legally for 2 years. That's the claim. Well, the evidence suggests otherwise. Kate and Fabian found some of it. Bill Malugin reporting and responding to these assertions. President Biden created the CHNV Migrant Flights Mass Parole Program, which allowed 30,000 migrants to fly into the U.S. every month for 2-year humanitarian parole grants totaling more than 500,000 migrants. But they never left. And the DHS Inspector General found the Biden administration wasn't even tracking their parole expiration and certainly wasn't enforcing it. There was also no vetting of their sponsors, and widespread fraud was found in the program, leading the Biden administration, you'll recall, to temporarily pause it. One Haitian man who flew into JFK as part of the program was supposed to be with his listed sponsor in New Jersey, but he ended up in a migrant hotel outside of Boston where he was convicted of raping a young girl in the hotel. This program did not exist before Biden, so yes, Biden quite literally allowed more than 500,000 migrants to circumvent the border and fly into the U.S. outside of the normal visa or legal immigration process, and the large majority of them are still here well past the expiration of their 2-year parole grants. And a large and some percentage of that large number of 500,000 people that are still here were found in Clarkston, Georgia, refugee city, accessing state benefits because there's all these, as you heard them reference, businesses that have been set up with refugee facilitators. These are paid employees. Refugee facilitators, what do they facilitate? Getting refugees on benefits programs like Obamacare.
We walked around this one plaza that has about 6 or 7 stores, and in 3 of the stores, a grocery store, a pharmacy store, and an iPhone repair store, we found 3 different Obamacare enrollment centers. You gotta ask yourself, why in a refugee city are they trying to get people onto public benefits?
Every single place you go, whether it's the children's daycare or the grocery store, the pharmacy, or the iPhone repair store, everyone has a sign for Obamacare. Clearly, you get paid when you sign people up. So this is a little weird.
We walked around another plaza, and there's like 5 stores here and 2 more Obama enrollment care centers. So, Fabian, what is that now? 5 or 6 Obamacare
Yeah, the only
enrollment
place
centers?
that you can't get Obamacare, apparently, is the hair salon right behind us.
312-642-5600. AlphaWealthGroup.com. Call and text line. Those refugee navigators.
Places like the Somali American Community Center act as navigators. Is that right, Fabian?
Exactly.
Explain to us, what is navigators?
They call them navigators. Navigators are supposed to help refugees navigate America. But all these navigators do is they simply sign them up for every single publicly available taxpayer-funded welfare program imaginable.
Whether it's federal or state level. So even when President Trump says no more such programs in 2025, these agencies still continue to get money. These navigators still continue to get money through state-funded programs.
Exactly. They get paid to go register refugees on public benefits. Then they get a commission when they sign up the refugees for things like Obamacare. The big problem is what the GAO found, and that's why we're very highly skeptical of things exactly like this.
The GAO flagged these kind of places as high-risk places for fraud for various reasons. It's very easy to game the system and to start to collect public benefits for everyone in your household.
Yeah, in fact, they ran a study, and in 1 year, 20 out of 20 fake applications that the GAO submitted for Obamacare were approved. 20 out of 20. Another year, it was something like 18 out of 20. So they know that these ghost social security numbers, is what they call them, are being used to sign up multiple people on the same social security number account. And the crazy part is they will not cancel any of the policies because what they say is they don't want the original person who is benefiting from this the right way to be hurt by canceling all of the other policies associated with that same social security number.
No, of course. And rather than doing the due diligence to root out the fraudsters, we'll just keep everybody on the payroll. Even those here, remember, this was a 2-year refugee carve-out program, and I'll also describe it. And it stood up a whole cottage industry of refugee navigators, facilitators, and, these bureaucracies that exist to underwrite dependency so they can grow. 312-642-5600 to give us a call or text. Cloward and Piven just weren't ambitious enough, thinking about creating a Marxist state here in America through domestic welfare dependency. They had no idea it could be scaled internationally, as we have done. In Ohio, that investigative series that Luke Rosiak for the Daily Wire has been doing, when we last left this discussion, multi-billion-dollar Medicaid industry in Columbus, Ohio, abusing the home health care program, which people are paid to visit homes of the elderly and provide non-medical services, cooking, cleaning, even companionship qualifies. In response to the reporting that Rosiak has done for the Daily Caller, the Ohio Department of Medicaid said it is, quote, aware of concerns involving home health care activity in Columbus, has been actively investigating these matters since prior to the publication of Daily Wire. So, we were on it way before you. That's the Gavin Newsom or the Field Marshal Tim Walz line. Oh, yeah, we were doing this way before you. Really? Well, how are you doing if I found all of this? Brother. The key component of anything resembling oversight here, mandatory electronic visit verification capturing date, time, and service location for these home health care programs. It's required by federal law. But Ohio Republican Governor Mike DeWine his administration inserted loopholes making that verification optional. Ohio is paying providers even if they didn't submit any electronic evidence, according to a 2024 audit by the Ohio State Auditor, Keith Faber. His audit that examined payments back in 2022 found 44% of personal services claims had no electronic verification. The situation was similar for home nursing. According to the audit, that resulted in approximately $1.1 billion in claims not supported by the federally required electronic verification visit. And not only do these programs subsist regardless of known instances of fraud, not only do they apply to citizens or are accessible by citizens and non-citizens alike, the Poverty Inc. bureaucracies that are set up get bonused out. ABC affiliate in Minneapolis talking about human service bonuses.
I'm tracking your tax dollars, $3.2 million to be exact. This is the Minnesota Department of Human Services. It is the largest state agency in Minnesota, has a massive billion-dollar budget. But that $3.2 million went directly to DHS employees since 2020 in the form of Achievement Awards. Achievement Awards are essentially a bonus. We found millions of dollars went to employees at the same time that Medicaid payments in 14 high-risk programs identified as having issues with waste, fraud, and abuse soared.
Mm-hmm. And when you have a high-profile target that may be complicit in multi-million-dollar frauds schemes, like possibly Congresswoman Ilhan Omar and the Feeding Our Future NGO in that scandal that's sent, about 70 convictions so far. You have state legislators intervene to try to protect those who need to be protected. Our friend Mike Tobin reporting on the effort to subpoena communications between Omar and Feeding Our Future fraudsters.
So you can still see that the FBI are behind me. We've been seeing them throughout the morning, bringing...
Hi, Harris. Democratic Minnesota Congresswoman Ilhan Omar did not meet the deadline to produce documents and communications with defendants from that massive Feeding Our Future scandal, and she doesn't have to. The Minnesota House Committee on Fraud Prevention and State Agency Oversight made the unprecedented move of trying to subpoena Omar to produce the records. That subpoena required a 2/3 vote of the committee, and the vote failed 5-3, with the vote falling strictly on party lines. Every Republican voted in favor of the subpoena. Every Democrat voted against.
There's an investigation to be had, and this is a subpoena for the information. If there's nothing to be found here, then there's no problem issuing this subpoena. So let's bring light to the darkness.
Part of the reason that I was resisting the subpoena is the lack of confidence that it would be used, that any information we get would be used to gain actual insights. And in fact, just the opposite, that the activities in the committee have tended to prioritize, in my view, political theater and not going after fraud.
Omar championed the 2020 Meals Act, which removed guardrails on COVID relief money, and Republicans say it opened the gates for the program to be exploited to the tune of $250 million. Meals were billed to taxpayers and never delivered. Now, evidence in the trial for Amy Bach, convicted as the ringleader in Feeding Our Future scandal, showed multiple communications with Omar and her office. However, back in January, Bach told our Alexis McAdams there were no substantive communications with Representative Omar.
Oh, that's good enough for me. And that's good enough for Dave Pinto, the first rep you heard calling for the subpoena to be issued was Isaac Schultz, a Republican. Dave Pinto, then you heard say, "Oh no, this is just political," and so, gosh, I want to see, hear, speak no evil. Dave Pinto. I like to keep tabs on these people. Dave Pinto, Minnesota legislator, was the genius behind this call for a particular study.
It is an intriguing line of questions. Several of us are on the Public Safety Committee, and yesterday there was a presentation of a group seeking to change how we address organized retail theft. And it actually had not occurred to me to ask, it probably would have been good, to make sure that they would study sort of the benefit of shoplifting and of retail theft. And because perhaps people are relying on that and sort of using that, maybe it's, assisting them in some way. These folks were describing people violating the law, but I suppose it could be useful to look into that. But ultimately, it's a policy question, right? We do want to make sure when we have a law in place, we're enforcing it. So,
yeah, we look into the benefits of shoplifting. You can see what somebody that thinks about shoplifting as having benefits is somebody who is not going to be interested in interdicting fraud in benefits programs. You see. Mike in Deerfield, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Hey, Dan, thanks for taking my call. I just saw this yesterday, and this is from the Labor Department data. Confirms that 25% growth in California healthcare and social assistance jobs between 22 and 26 is driving nearly all the state's employment growth. And actually, if you strip that out, I saw that it's actually negative by about 0.5%. Yeah. So maybe one of the reasons Pratt is, gaining some momentum, other than people just being fed up by the incompetence of their leaders, is there's no growth in the private sector. And how much of that growth in the healthcare is that home healthcare, where a family member takes care and gets paid $50,000 or $60,000? I mean, they're just getting robbed blind.
100%. It's a good point you raised. Thanks for the call, Mike. And the flight too. I saw that what you're referring to out of California, it's no growth in the private sector. This is per IRS data. Between 2020 and 2024, 892 companies escaped from New York with Snake Plissken. $47 billion they took in income with them. 341 of those companies went to Florida. 187 went to Texas. 129 went to North Carolina. And again, this is not just billionaires fleeing, just as the same thing in Illinois. Billionaires are insulated from terrible public policy. They can endure whatever Gavin Newsom or Kathy Hochul or J.B. Pritzker throws at them. It's the hollowing out of big cities and the hollowing out of failed states. 892 companies, 4-year period, $47 billion in income, and there's residual, as we talked about with the impact that Citadel had. Citadel alone, something on the order of $3.5 billion impact, negative impact on Illinois since they left. Talking about the purchasing power of their employees and all that stuff, all the millionaires that are minted at a company like multimillionaires at Citadel. Yeah, that's what's happening. That is what's happening. But again, it's been my thesis that the great sort of counterintuitive result is that the worse they make it, the better it gets for them, because productive, commonsensical people are the ones driving the exodus. But maybe there are enough that are at least having a present fit with common sense, such that as we began the show, you could see something unthinkable just a few months ago occur in L.A. and maybe even the state of California. George in Naperville.
Dan, in Obama land, benefits have no borders.
That's right. Thanks for the call, George. Dan Proft, Chicago's Morning Answer.
Before you see it on TV, share it on Facebook, or read about it in the paper, hear it here first. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
President Trump has triggered a $200 billion tech disruption, and Wall Street is asleep at the switch. This $200 billion investment in chip technology could make today's artificial intelligence chips obsolete. Technology that will make today's AI data centers a thing of the past, like IBM's old mainframes. While most investors are focused on old-fashioned AI, there are 3 companies quietly building a $1 trillion triangle that could transform every tech sector on Earth. These 3 companies are gearing up to develop and manufacture supercomputers the size of a dinner plate. Institutions like Vanguard, BlackRock, and State Street are pouring more than $200 billion into this AI revolution. Investment guru George Gilder has been predicting tech revolutions for more than 40 years, including the iPhone, Netflix, and Amazon. Now he's got his finger on 3 companies whose technology will change tech forever. Log on to TrillionDollarTriangle.com to find out which 3 companies are working on what could be the biggest tech disruption since the internet. TrillionDollarTriangle.com. That's TrillionDollarTriangle.com.
Did you know most remodeling mishaps start before construction even begins? Here's something else you should know. At Forever Remodeling, we do things differently. Every kitchen, bathroom, and basement project starts with smart planning, detailed 3D designs, a clear scope of work, and accurate pricing, all sorted out before you get started. No surprises, no stress, just beautiful results. Done right the first time. Visit foreverremodeling.com. That's the number 4, EVER, remodeling.com. And schedule your free in-home consultation today.
AM 560, The Answer.
Coming up at 6:36, our latest installment of Sports and Politics. The future of elite youth sports is here, and it's a little messy. 6:36, now we check the headlines.
Good morning, 44 degrees, variable clouds in and around Chicago. On AM 560, The Answer, I'm Mike Scott. Expect more clouds throughout the day, windy and warmer with a couple of showers. A 16-passenger list from the cruise ship at the center of a hantavirus outbreak are now isolating at a medical facility in Nebraska. That state's Director of Public Health, Ashley Neumeyer, joined Fox News this morning to discuss how Nebraska prepared its health system for testing for hantavirus.
We have done something in Nebraska that has not been done anywhere else in the country, where within 48 hours, we stood up testing capabilities for hantavirus. It was a again, a tremendous partnership across federal, state, local emergency preparedness, laboratory folks.
But hantavirus requires prolonged exposure to spread between humans, making it much less transmissible than, say, something like COVID-19. Primary elections today in Nebraska and West Virginia. Georgia, Idaho, and Kentucky, Oregon, and Pennsylvania not far off on May 19. Global shares trading mostly lower as optimism encouraged by record rallies on Wall Street are clashing with pessimism over oil prices and a potential AI bubble. A man seriously hurt in a shootout involving Chicago police. Shooting happened last night around 10:35 in the 3100 block of East 83rd Street. A Cook County judge is delaying a ruling on whether to appoint a special prosecutor to investigate possible crimes committed by federal agents during Operation Midway Blitz. The judge yesterday saying a ruling may come on May 21st. An Oak Brook teen is charged in a March crash that left a Downers Grove couple dead. Francesco Rendina faces 2 counts of reckless homicide for the March 27th incident, where the 17-year-old was driving in a reckless manner over 100 miles an hour when his SUV slammed into another vehicle at Highland and 35th in Downers Grove. Reed Jacobson and his wife Catherine were killed in that crash. Cubs begin a set in Atlanta. White Sox host the Royals. The news, a service of the daily podcast of Chicago's Morning Answer and the Sean Thompson Show. Subscribe free at 560theanswer.com/podcast. A check of the roads comes your way in 2 minutes on AM 560, The Answer.
Alex Marlow doesn't see advancement.
This is one of the narratives that's emerging as we head into the midterm season. The Democrats don't stand for anything. They don't have any core beliefs. There's nothing that they represent other than hatred of Donald Trump and hatred of the conservative movement and the Republican Party. This is the unifying theme of almost all the content I've been presenting since I launched the show in January, is that what ideas are the Democrats advancing?
The Alex Marlow Show. Afternoons at 3, right before Sean Thompson at 4 on AM 560. The Answer.
My name is Dr. Michael Huber, co-founder of Virago, the immune enhancement cocktail. Virago has earned its place in your medicine cabinet. It's your proven go-to for the flu, colds, and COVID. But you already know that part of the story. But today I want to tell you that if you're suffering from diabetes, hypertension, or autoimmune diseases, we want you to know that they share one common thread. They are inflammation machines. And that inflammation assaults your heart, your brain, and your kidneys 24/7. It's a silent, constant attack on your vital organs, wearing them down every single day. Taking Virago every day shields your heart, protects your kidneys, and guards your brain from chronic inflammation. Virago, the new protective standard in immunity.
Order your bottle of Virago online today at myvirago.com. That's myvirago.com. Use coupon code IMMUNE to save 30%.
Hey, it's Scott Tucker and my new co-host,
Amy Jacobson,
on AM 560. We wanted you to know that we have a special show every Sunday morning at 7 a.m. here on AM 560, The Answer. It is Retirement Dakota with Scott Tucker and
Amy Jacobson.
It's every Sunday morning from 7 to 9 a.m. 2-hour show, 2-hour radio extravaganza. Amy, we're going to tantalize the listening public and the listening private with all kinds of retirement planning information. So tune in at AM 560 Sunday mornings at 7 a.m.
Hey, if you're living with joint pain, listen up. I want you to try something different. You don't have to live in pain every day. Have a conversation with my friends at QC Kinetics and tell them I sent you when you do. They offer all-natural regenerative treatments for joint pain. I've seen the results and personally recommend Dr. Caravelli and her team. Stop saying to yourself, this is just how I am now. That's not okay. Get back to the normal you, the one who is active and carefree. QC Kinetics is helping AM 560 listeners with pain from arthritis or injury in their knees, hips, and shoulders. Now they're moving again, golfing and running without surgery or long recovery. The science is real. The treatments are natural. Your body knows how to heal. QC Kinetics will show you how without surgery. Don't watch summer pass you by again, stuck on your couch, afraid to move. Take action today. Schedule an appointment right now. Consultations are free. Call 312-827-6261. That number again, 312-827-6261. Call QC Kinetics at 312-827-6261. 827-6261.
Picture warm Gulf breezes, turquoise waters, white sand beaches. Now, add evenings of conversation with Salem Media's Mike Gallagher, Scott Jennings, Larry O'Connor, and Jennifer Horn. This November, sail from Fort Lauderdale to the Bahamas, Jamaica, the Cayman Islands, and Mexico on a 7-day journey built for those who love this country. Book your cabin today when you text the word cruise to 94878. Celebrate America's 250th anniversary the right way on the Gulf of America Cruise. Book your cabin now. Text the word cruise to 94878.
Hair Volume from New Nordic will make your hair look thick and healthy. Hair Volume is available online at Amazon and NewNordicUSA.com or in the hair care aisle at your local CVS.
45 degrees in the Team Hochberg Traffic Center. Traffic, a service of Mattress Firm, ready to upgrade to the perfect sleep setup. Let Mattress Firm sleep experts guide you to the perfect bed at the Memorial Day sale. Top brands, Ideal Comfort, Mattress Firm. They make sleep easy. Accident left lane block inbound right at Route 83 on the Eisenhower this morning. You're backed up to Addison Road, Stevenson outbound. Remember the construction zone jammed and slow this morning. You're down to 2 lanes for ongoing road work between Western and Pulaski. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but first, check of your forecast in the Air Right Heating and Cooling Weather Center. Cloudy, becoming windier and warmer. A couple of gusty afternoon thunderstorms can't be ruled out. We'll top out near 75 today.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com.
This hourly segment is brought to you by Goldilocks, offering smart security systems to homes and businesses. Call Goldilocks at 708-889-5600.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. Only the biggest stories, only the biggest guests, and only the biggest opinions. This is AM 560, The Answer.
Sports and politics and sports and politics and sports and politics and intersection. Arrogance and ignorance, arrogance, ignorance, and arrogance and ignorance. Intersection.
High school sports in the NIL era. A really interesting piece in the Wall Street Journal. I didn't really have an appreciation for the dynamics of high school sports in the NIL era until I read this piece. Now, it focuses on Florida, which is a bit of a unusual case because there are no penalties for transferring schools. Sort of in the with the open enrollment and the statewide school choice in Florida, which is a good thing, the High School Athletic Association sort of went the same direction and said you can transfer without penalty. Penalty in sport being sitting out a year, for example. So they profile a couple of standout young football players like this kid Amari Stevens, 16-year-old football player from South Florida. Boarded a helicopter with a videographer one day last spring. As the chopper circled Miami, the cameraman explained the purpose of the shoot. Everybody and their mama wants to know where he's going to play ball next year. He's a whip-fast sophomore wide receiver with 2 state championships under his belt. You would think if he's part of a successful program, he'd stay, but you'd be wrong. As he's looking at high school campuses on the chopper, he's listing the attributes: NFL alums, college stars, state titles. Teens in Florida, especially in the lucrative sports of football, basketball, and baseball, jump from school to school chasing playing time, winning teams, talented teammates, connected coaches, and anything else that might put them on the radar of colleges, boosters, and corporate sponsors with millions to spend. That's not necessarily anything new, but there are some new dynamics here. There's the ability to make money legally in the system. There are NIL deals at the high school level now, if you didn't know. but of course the rules are that you're not allowed to pressure or induce a kid to come to your school. Now, as coaches who spoke to the Wall Street Journal say, I mean, that's not nice on paper, but it's difficult to prove, and rule breaking is rampant. You see it. I mean, this happened in the Chicago Public League. It happens with Catholic schools and football too. I mean, the recruitment that goes on. I mean, Sonny Cox at King was legendary for it on the basketball side. The Florida legislature has passed a bill to limit switching teams mid-season or playing different sports at different schools in the same year. That's pending DeSantis's signature. But, of course, you have parents, some coaches, some administrators, some state high school association sports folks saying, jumping from school to school provides no continuity and it's not exactly conducive to a kid's intellectual development. The learning part of high school. We know in many respects that's all but over now as the revenue sports at the collegiate level are just professional leagues now. So Florida enacted open enrollment policy in 2016 to allow families to take leave of underperforming schools. Parents can send their child to any public school as long as it has room and they provide transportation. And so the Florida High School Athletic Association, as I said, followed suit and dissolved its transfer regulations. And 5 years later, NIL arrived. As the executive director of the Florida High School Athletic Association, it's an economic thing. It's not so much about winning a state championship, but getting to that next level where I can earn those NIL dollars. It boils down, another county athletic director, it boils down to getting exposure. You're the best athlete at a small school and no one's coming to your games to look at you. I'm not so sure that's true. I mean, in this era of this digital era and turning over every rock to find talent, I'm not sure people get passed over because they're at a small school. Travel is not even necessary in some respects, at least to identify talent. You can see it online. And with the recruiting that goes on overseas now, I don't know. That sounds to me like a little bit of an anachronistic take on it. Under the rules, school representatives must not, quote, pressure, urge, or entice, unquote, students to transfer for athletic reasons. But again, as I said, come on. Florida does allow high school earners to earn NIL money for off-field endorsements or other legitimate work. And the payouts at the high school level, according to this report, range from a few $100s to five-figure trading card deals for big-name players like this kid this wide receiver has won 2 state championships and is attending his 4th school in 4 years. He's got some endorsement deals. They're required to, the high school athletes who have NIL deals are required to disclose them, but not the amount or the company. And according to the Florida High School Athletic Association, few actually even bother disclosing deals they have, even though you don't have to disclose the amount of the company. 36 disclosures last year is what the High School Athletic Association in Florida received. The executive director estimated there were many hundreds of deals statewide. And what's going on at well-funded schools is people are, quote, just essentially cutting the kids a blank check. They don't have to do anything. Well, that's also going on at the collegiate level. So going back to this kid, Amari, the standout wide receiver, moved through 4 schools in 10 months, spent the first 2 years at St. Thomas Aquinas, which is a storied football program in Fort Lauderdale, then transferred to a prep school in Plantation called American Heritage, where he ran track and prepared to catch passes from a marquee quarterback. A semester later, he was at Edison, and a month after that at Chaminade Madonna in Hollywood, Florida. His parents said they never violated recruiting rules or received money for his transfers. However, it's also noted in the story, without comment, that his parents, a UPS driver and a former hair salon owner, and there's nothing wrong with that, but they estimate that they have spent $500,000 in support of Amari's athletic development. And now their full-time job is managing his athletic development. So a UPS driver and a hair salon owner spent $500,000 on their 16-year-old kid, and they can quit their jobs and manage his career at this stage. I guess he's 18 now. At this stage without a source of income? By the way, his coach at Edison, his third school that he left after a month and a half to go to his fourth school. Oh, I guess actually he's probably still 16 or he's probably still 16 or 17 because he did two schools in a year. I'm thinking he goes year to year. This guy's moving around on a monthly basis as needed. His coach at Edison is Luther Campbell from 2 Live Crew. And I guess Luther Campbell, I didn't know this, is co-founded a youth football league, and he is a well-known commodity in high school football in the state of Florida. And he's, pushing the transfer portal the way that, the way Deion Sanders is at the collegiate level. Or Curt Cignetti, frankly. Yeah, there was a Florida high school product at the White House yesterday with Cignetti. Fernando Mendoza, a great kid, high-character kid. No reason to believe that this Amari isn't. We're just using him as an example to talk about the system and say, does this make sense to you? 312-642-5600 is the alphawealthgroup.com answer line and text line. Of course, Florida is, a hotbed of football talent, so that's not new. There's another approach, and maybe this is the answer to all of the questions about the NIL era and regulation and trying to empower athletic associations and require these disclosures and so forth. Maybe it all really comes down to this. Caden Henderson is a bona fide star. He's a linebacker from Tampa. The 17-year-old five-star junior has offers from 50 colleges, including Notre Dame, Ohio State, and LSU. Please go to Northwestern. I'm kidding. He plans to spend all 4 years at the same high school, Jesuit High School, an all-boys Catholic school, which has a strong college prep program, along with a history of sending players to D1 and D1 programs and even the NFL. His father, Randy, who's a healthcare executive, there have been other schools that reached out, but he said he and his wife, who's an attorney, wanted to keep the focus on education, not football. Of potential NIL deals, Mr. Henderson, Caden's dad, our lights are on, our bills are paid. No interest. Something else that's changing the game, too. At the top tier, the quality of competition has never been higher, but often there are fewer people in the bleachers to watch. Gate receipts have fallen in some places because locals won't turn out for a team of strangers. They're putting together all-star teams, is what the point is. The executive director for the Athletic Association, there are no community teams anymore. I live 3 miles away from the school that I coached for 20 years, and the last time I went to a game, there was not one kid on the sideline that I knew. Ken in Grays Lake, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Good Good morning. I was a football coach for a long time. All three of my kids were recruited for college athletics, so I do have some insight in this. I know personally of people that have moved from one town to another because they thought their player would get better exposure at a bigger high school. Sure. I can tell you that Jelly Belly's COVID lockdowns killed the potential for a lot of kids to get recruited. My son lost his junior year of football because of Pritzker and the COVID ending of sports. And junior year for football players is prime time to get recruited. So a lot of kids in Illinois got overlooked because of COVID. But the bottom line is, for all this school jumping around, I'm wondering if you put in a rule that says before you can transfer schools, you have to test academically at grade level, and how much of it would suddenly stop.
That's interesting. That's an interesting idea. Thanks for the call, Ken. Yeah, I mean, you need the parental oversight that the Hendersons are providing, but maybe that too. Amari, the standout wide receiver, getting B's and C's, according to the story. But it also just in terms of what high school sports is. Apopka High, north of Orlando, lost 18 returning football players last year. Head coach Jeff Ralston, who had led the team to a state title, to state title games 3 times in 6 years, opted to retire rather than try to rebuild. He sort of sounds like he's the Nick Saban of Florida high school football. We were down to a JV team, basically, said the coach, Ralston. These guys don't want what we're selling anymore. Commitment, character, integrity. He said those who left told him, we're not getting offers here. And, of course, you have to keep in mind, what I think most adults know, that about 2% of high school athletes nationally will play in a D1 program, much less get NIL deals, much less play professional sports. Bob in Buffalo Grove.
Good morning, Dan. Always good talking to you. Let me flash back many years ago. My daughter was playing softball, and we met with the coaches, and he said to us, the parents, your kids cannot take drugs. If I find out, they're off. No questions asked. And I will find out. Four players were found positive or were found taking drugs. They lost 4-star players. One of the parents wanted their girl to go on to play, college ball. They switched schools, and she got placed into an adjoining high school to continue on with her softball. I often wondered what happened to her and the other players that were drug tested positive.
Thanks for the call, Bob. Dan Propp, Chicago's Morning Answer.
Hear about the big stories of the day, then talk about them right here on Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer. Looking for some hope? Listen to Leading the Way with Dr. Michael Youssef on our sister station, AM 1160. Hope for your life. Weekday mornings starting at 8. AM 560. The Answer.
That means it's time for our weekly installment of In-Depth History with Frank, the history teacher from Arlington Heights, because there's nothing new in this world, just the history you don't know, and Frank does. Frank, take it away.
Good morning. The strangest-looking electoral college map, no doubt, is that of 1872. President Grant won quite easily, but his opponent, Horace Greeley, died 3 weeks after the election, but before the electoral college met. So 4 additional men got votes, making the map quite colorful. But the congressional map was clearly red across the whole country as the freedmen now had the franchise and voted heavily Republican. And that 1872 map also had more uniformly shaped districts. Here in Illinois, our current map, well, it would be easier to draw a smiley face while playing Twister and Operation at the same time than to draw out many of the 17 districts. Now, Britain faced similar problems with their parliamentary boroughs in the early 1800s. Rotten boroughs were those that had their population thin out due to urban migration. Pocket boroughs were similar, but the right to elect the MP was due to special privilege given to a local aristocrat who controlled the votes. We have our own rotten boroughs in a way. Wyoming, Vermont, and Alaska all have less than the required population for a district. But we also have our own version of the pocket boroughs. the unconstitutional racially gerrymandered districts across the country that are now being dismantled by state legislatures in light of the recent Supreme Court ruling. Yet despite all the hyperventilating, once these are resolved, a more small d Democratic polity should emerge. In 1874, in the midst of an economic depression with a normal map, the House went Dem, what was a complete reversal of 1872. In 1912, the Dems gained 61 seats, but then lost the same amount back 2 years later. 1894 and 1932 had triple-digit swings. But since the Voting Rights Act, with only a few exceptions, the swings have been more mild as our political class chooses its own voters. Change is then hard to come by, so is it any wonder Congress has such dismal approval ratings? Thankfully, SCOTUS took a sledgehammer to this long-standing insult to the ideals of our Declaration of Independence.
Excellent, as always, Frank. Thank you so much. Coming up at 7:07, we'll turn our attention to Iran and that ceasefire that's on life support. It's now 7 o'clock on AM 560 WIND.
Iran will be a big topic in China. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. When President Trump goes there for talks, he'll leave today after saying this about the ceasefire.
It's one of the weakest right now. It's on life support.
Calling garbage Iran's counter-proposal trying to end the conflict. And now Israel is sending Iron Dome missile defense to a Gulf country Iran's attacked, the United Arab Emirates. Fox's Lucas Tomlinson's there in Dubai.
Multiple officials tell Fox the Emirates are not taking any of these attacks on this country lying down. They've hit back, launching multiple airstrikes against Iranian oil facilities, as first reported by the Wall Street Journal, after more than 2,800 Iranian drones and missiles have been launched here, more than twice the number launched at any other country during the war, including Israel.
And oil prices up more than 3% as shipping remains mostly halted in the Strait of Hormuz, which China relies on heavily for oil as the U.S. military keeps a blockade around Iran's ports. The Americans quarantined in Omaha after being taken off that hantavirus-stricken cruise ship are said to be doing well without symptoms. Ashley Neumeier, the director of Public Health Nebraska, tells Fox this morning.
Hantavirus, in order for it to spread, it does need prolonged human-to-human contact. So this is different from the COVID-19 virus.
2 others are isolated in Atlanta. Others quarantined overseas. The outbreak killed 3 people on the cruise. Days after Virginia's Supreme Court struck down as illegal a voter-approved congressional redistricting map that would benefit Democrats. A win for Republicans again at the Supreme Court.
On Friday, Alabama Attorney General Steve Marshall asked the Supreme Court to pause a lower court ruling blocking the state from using a congressional map approved in 2023 until after the 2030 census. Approved by the state's GOP legislature, the map would eliminate one of the state's 2 largely black House districts. The Supreme Court's conservative majority granting the request, sending the case back to a lower court, which could ramp up efforts to use the map ahead of the midterm elections.
That's Fox's Kristen Goodwin. There are primaries today in West Virginia and Nebraska. America's listening to Fox News.
Variable clouds, 44 degrees. At 7:02 on AM 560, The Answer. I'm Mike Scott in the QC Kinetics newsroom. A man seriously hurt in a shootout involving Chicago police. It happened last night around 10:35 p.m. in the 3100 block of East 83rd. A woman killed by police in suburban Mundelein on Monday. Officers were called to a home on Ashbrook Drive at about 6 p.m. Lake County, Illinois Major Crimes Task Force says police confronted a woman who rushed at them with 2 large knives. She was shot by one of the officers and died later at a nearby hospital. Authorities are naming the teen who was killed in a shooting during a post-prom party over the weekend in northwest Indiana. The LaPorte County coroner says 17-year-old Javon Townsend died after shots were fired Saturday night at a home in Pine Township. The party reportedly followed Michigan City High School's prom. Chicago City Council committee believes that Chicago taxpayers should help pay for a major development near the United Center on the city's west side.
These parking lots have been a very clear gray divide between what is a beautiful community in Garfield Park and the economic viability of Fulton Market.
27th Ward Alderman Walter Red Burnett. Meantime, resident Dan Ola says no.
Burnett and Johnson are giving away $55 million of relief to the 1901 project and a $55 million tax increase for the rest of us.
The $7 billion project is planned by the owners of the Bulls and Blackhawks. Cubs on the road in Atlanta, Sox hosting the Royals. The news, a service of the AM 560 store with T-shirts, hoodies, and more from your favorite AM 560 brands, including Proft, University, and The Sean Thompson Show. A check of the roads comes your way in 2 minutes on AM 560.
For over a decade, AM 560 has marked the start of summer with a night of cigar smoking and great conversation. This year, we're proud to welcome the editor-in-chief of Breitbart News to Cigar Night. He's Alex Marlowe, and he'll join AM 560's Dan Proft and Sean Thompson on Tuesday, May 19th at Gobert's Farm in Pingree Grove for a night you won't forget. Tickets are on sale now at 560theanswer.com/cigar. That's 560theanswer.com/cigar. Sponsored by Donley Auctions. Listen to AM 560, The Answer, on your smartphone. Download the AM 560 mobile app today. Online at 560theanswer.com/mobile or text the word app to 312-642-5600.
Chicagoland certified financial planning professional Tim Stearns discusses taxes in retirement.
Most people are paying more in taxes and keeping less of their money to live and do what they enjoy. That's why we've put out the retirement tax bill calculator online. You can see with your own eyes just how much you might be overpaying. It's a valuable tool, $500 value, but we made it free for you to view and run your own numbers at MVPCFP.com. That's MVPCFP.com.
To run your retirement tax bill calculator, go to MVPCFP.com. Investment advisory services offered through Cornerstone Securities, LLC.
Welcome to another edition of Tuesdays with Tim. My friend Tim Stearns, a certified financial planner with TJ Stearns Financial Planning in Arlington Heights. Tim, how are you? Welcome back.
Doing well. Thanks for having me.
Tim, for more than 25 years, you've been helping clients achieve financial security and peace of mind. Can you give our listeners some examples of how you've helped clients over the years?
A couple of your listeners called in. They're a married couple. They're in their 60s. They were really concerned and tired of trying to manage their own investments. So their accounts were quite big, but they felt like they needed a little help with it so they didn't screw up at this stage of the game. So they couldn't afford to lose any money in the market moving forward, and trying to manage retirement on a fixed income was kind of a daunting task for them. So with about $1.5 million in 401k savings and other stocks and bonds, we rearranged their portfolio so that they had guaranteed future income, less volatility in the market, and of course tax savings. So now they have this peace of mind because they know that they have a protect and grow blueprint.
Thank you, Tim. If you're in your 50s or 60s, I want you to speak with my friend Tim Stearns, TJ Stearns Financial Planning. Tim will help you structure and optimize your savings to prepare for 20 to 30 years of enjoyable retirement. Call Tim today to schedule your free consultation and get your free Protect and Grow blueprint. Call 1-800-640-2256. Again, that number, 800-640-2256. Tell him I sent you when you call Tim at 800-640-2256.
Let me ask you something. Does your garage floor look bad? Covered in salt, cracked, or stained from the winter's brutal blast? Well, I've got a fix for you so you can start enjoying your garage this spring. Contact my good friends at Level 10 Coatings. Level 10 brought my garage floor from dirty and gross to showroom, shiny new in just one day. Level 10 Coatings can do the same for you. A quick and easy fix, permanent durable solution. Guaranteed to never chip or peel. Get it done now so you can enjoy your garage this spring and summer. Schedule your free quote today and mention me, Amy, for $500 off. Visit level10coatings.com. That's level, the number 10, coatings.com. Level10coatings.com or call 855-510-2628. Again, that's 855-510-2628. Level 10 Coatings, your premier concrete coating experts.
Hear podcasts from Chicago's Morning Answer, The Sean Thompson Show, and all of your favorite AM 560 hosts. Go to 560theanswer.com/podcasts to listen and subscribe.
7:08. Team Hochberg Traffic Center time, a service of the AM 560 Advantage, where membership has its privileges, including early access to event tickets. Join today at 560theanswer.com/join. Elmhurst accident, York and Crestview. Oakbrook Terrace report of an accident, Roosevelt Road and Villa. And in Barrington Hills, report of an accident, Algonquin and Helm. Major delays on I-90. It's southbound right at the Illinois-Wisconsin state line this morning. You have a few vehicles disabled along the right-hand shoulder. Gumming up the works, Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. But first, a check of your forecast in our Air Right Heating and Cooling Weather Center.
Today will be mostly cloudy with increasing wind and warmer temperatures. Expect a few showers in the afternoon, possibly accompanied by gusty winds and small hail. The high will reach 73 degrees. Tonight, there is a chance of a thunderstorm in some areas during the evening. Otherwise, it'll be partly cloudy and windy with a low of 51 degrees. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com.
This hourly segment is brought to you by Forever Remodeling. Stress-free and high-quality remodeling. View their stunning transformations online at the number 4everremodeling.com.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. Yesterday, before President Trump departed for Beijing, he provided some color on some of the comments he was making on social media over the weekend about the unsatisfactory, to put it lightly, response he got from the Iranians to any sort of peace deal, saying the ceasefire is on life support at this juncture.
What?
For the time being, the ceasefire remains in place?
It's unbelievably weak, I would say. I would call it the weakest right now. After reading that piece of garbage they sent us, I didn't even finish reading it. They said, I'm not going to waste my time reading it. I would say it's one of the weakest right now. It's on life support. They understand. These are all medical people. Dr. Oz, life support is not a good thing. Do you agree?
Bad prognostic.
I would say the ceasefire is on massive life support, where the doctor walks in and says, sir, your loved one has approximately a 1% chance of living.
And despite what some have suggested, the skeptics, that Iran can outlast the United States, Trump will lose interest, he's under pressure. That's not what the president said.
If you can believe it, they didn't. How stupid. Are they stupid people? They didn't want to believe it. They think that, well, I'll get tired of this, or I'll get bored, or I'll have some pressure. But there's no pressure. There's no pressure at all. We're going to have a complete victory. We've already, in theory, had a complete victory from the military standpoint. The military, look.
He also said that the initial agreement, or the initial response, that they walked back, apparently, I'm talking about the Iranians, which I suppose was the basis for his optimism that they were close to a deal, was that there was initial agreement to turn over or allow the United States to come in and obtain that enriched uranium that's part of Trump's must-haves.
Iranians agreed to allow the removal of all their enriched uranium?
Yeah. Well, they did it 2 days ago. They didn't, okay? They did 2 days ago. They said, you're going to have to take it. We were going to go with them, but they changed their mind because they didn't put it in the paper. So when they sent us this document that we waited 4 days for, that should have taken 10 minutes to do, look, very simple. We get that. They guarantee no nuclear weapons for a very long period of time, and a couple of other minor things, but they just can't get there. So they agree with us, and then they take it back.
Yeah, well, finally, it sounds like the president's patience is running out, and we found out yesterday that the United Arab Emirates' patience has run out at least a few days ago because they have launched strikes inside Iran. How does that factor into the dynamics? For more on those issues and others, please be joined by Kenneth Pollack, who's the Vice President for Policy at the Middle East Institute. He previously was a senior fellow at the American Enterprise Institute. Kenneth Pollack, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Great to be here, Dan. Thanks for having me on.
So how do you interpret those comments from President Trump as he's getting a little bit exasperated with the Iranians, clearly?
Yeah, frustrated was the word that I was going to use. And look, I'll be honest with you, Dan, this was always where I figured we were going to end up. We got to recognize that the leadership in Tehran we have right now, first, is divided, And I think that's part of the reason why the administration is saying they're hearing these very different things, right? We need to recognize we decapitated Iran's leadership starting this war. So what's left is kind of fighting it out amongst themselves about what course Iran is going to take. But what we've consistently seen is that the guys who always end up with the upper hand, at least in the last couple of months, and I would also say over the last 47 years, the guys who always end up with the upper hand are the hardest of the hardliners, right? And these guys have no interest in cutting a deal with us. They want nuclear weapons. They oppose the 2015 nuclear deal with Obama because they thought it was too generous to the United States. And, you know, whatever we may believe, they seem to think they're winning. They seem to think that they can outlast us, that the pain that they're inflicting on us by closing the strait is worse than the pain we're inflicting on them through the blockade.
Well, there's sort of like the Monty Python's Black Knight, it seems to me. Yeah, merely flesh wounds, really. I mean, and there's a lot more that could come. And I suppose if you were advising the president, describing those hardliners that appear to be preeminent as they are, then what do you do if both you and Bibi say no nukes and a commitment to not pursue them for some period of time? It's been rumored 20 years, you know, however you could enforce that. Combined with we have to have the enriched uranium. Both Trump and Bibi have said that over the last 24 hours again. So how do you get there?
Yeah, so look, I mean, at this point in time, Dan, there are three pathways open to the United States. One is we make concessions to them. We give them what they want. And I'm very glad to hear the president so consistently rejecting that pathway. That would be absolutely disastrous. So the two that are left are the path of significant escalation. And again, the president keeps threatening this. And obviously, as you're kind of hinting at, the United States is the most powerful country on earth. We do have options for escalation. The issue that we have, again, is that you've got a group of people in Tehran, the leadership there, who truthfully doesn't care very much, if at all, about the Iranian economy, doesn't care about their people. Right, they're perfectly willing to kill themselves in power, remain in power. They're killing as many Iranians as they have to. We saw that back in January, where they killed, anywhere from 5,000 to 35,000 people to suppress the latest round of popular revolts against them. So we can try to escalate, but not clear how that would work, when it would work, what it would take. And then the last option is strategic patience, right? Wear them out, stay the course, let the blockade have its impact in the expectation that at some point in time, you will get Iranian leaders saying, you know what, this really is too much. But, those are really the two courses open to us. Neither is great. I can understand why the president kind of, seems to go back and forth between the two of them. On the one hand, threatening escalation, on the other hand, saying, I can wait as long as I have to. But, he's really outlined what our options are.
Well, can't you do strategic patience with strikes? I mean, for example, you had the president talking the other day in a sit-down with Cheryl Atkinson about, there are many, and he's not the only one who said this, there are many targets that we've already identified, military targets or industrial production targets that have not been hit yet. So we could resume taking out those targets that we have already identified. We could restart Project Freedom to escort ships through the Strait of Hormuz and dare the Iranians to strike. That they haven't been very successful trying to do that. I mean, so you can be patient and let the blockade take its effect and let the population simmer while also continuing to debilitate them and moving commerce through the strait with our people.
Sure. So first, on resuming the bombing, I would actually say, to me, that is actually the escalation piece, right? Because it would really be about going after new target sets, right? The ones that the president just mentioned, power plants, additional industrial facilities, civilian infrastructure, trying to inflict more pain on the Iranians. And I suspect that's where we're going to end up at some point, not too far away, because that's kind of the next step in the escalatory ladder. There's a sense of logic to that. I'm glad you brought up the escort mission, though, because I actually think that was a very important move on the part of the United States. It was something I was waiting for us to do for a number of weeks. And I'll be honest with you, I think that was, had a huge impact on the Iranians. It's worth people understanding that what happened was the U.S. Navy enabled 2 American commercial ships to move through the Strait of Hormuz. The Iranians threw everything at them they could, and they couldn't hit them. That's really important. Instead, what they did, though, was they hit a South Korean ship elsewhere, and they started lobbing missiles again at the United Arab Emirates. And for whatever reason, we decided to shut that operation down. I suspect it's because of the attacks on the United Arab Emirates that we were afraid those would expand to the other Gulf states. And that's what makes that option hard. Again, I think we'll wind up going that route because showing the Iranians that they can't control the Strait of Hormuz is hugely important for the future of commerce and the international economy. And I also do think that escalating to try to cause them more pain is going to be important. But we got to recognize they're going to shoot back. They're going to shoot at our allies in the Gulf. That's not something we really want to have happen. I think that's why President Trump has been trying to give this ceasefire a chance. And I suspect we're going to end up there.
Well, I mean, we initially reportedly had some holdups with the Kuwaitis and the Saudis, and then those holdups were removed after they hit that refinery in UAE. And now, as I mentioned at the outset, UAE has launched their own strike. So how does that factor into the Gulf states, participating in this preemptive de-escalatory escalation?
Sure. So first, I'm not entirely convinced by those news stories about the Saudis and Kuwaitis putting holds on it. The truth is we have so much force there, we don't really need their support.
Right.
I'm going to wait to see what we fully get out of this. And as far as the UAE is concerned, I think that's great. I think that more of our allies ought to be participating actively, given the fact that they are being attacked actively by the Iranians. But while it's symbolically important, we should recognize there's really nothing that the Emirates or any of our Gulf allies can add in a meaningful military sense on top of what we and the Israelis already bring to the fight. We and the Israelis...
Well, right, of course.
Not that big a deal.
And our NATO allies, for that matter, it's nice that Starmer's is sending a destroyer over, one of their 2 or 3. Right. Good grief. The whole reporting over the weekend about Macron and Starmer getting together to figure out some sort of way to facilitate commerce through the Strait. They're a couple of eunuchs, aren't they?
Well, yeah.
Maybe not. You maybe don't want to be that strong, but yeah. But you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, symbolically, it would be great to have our European allies joining us in the fight. And by the way, they actually do have some real capabilities that we could use that our Gulf allies don't, because, we made a decision back in the late 1970s, early 1980s for a division of labor in NATO. We would build carrier battle groups and attack submarines, and we would let the Europeans build all the mine clearing assets. So they actually have a much better mine clearing capability than we do. And so getting a bunch, and we need more than one destroyer, but getting a bunch of European destroyers and frigates would actually be helpful.
President Trump also expressed some disappointment with the Kurds, saying something to the effect of, we sent weapons to the Kurds to get to whoever they wanted them to get to with respect to sort of the Iranian dissidents that they want to see, take up arms and aid in the fight to throw out this regime. And so how does that play in terms of trying to provide aid and comfort to those who would like to take on the IRGC indigenously?
Yeah, so this is a bit of a thorny question, Dan, and I confess I've got a fair amount of sympathy for the Kurds on this one. Understand, first of all, nobody's paying any attention to this. The Iraqi Kurds are getting hit as badly as anyone except maybe the United Arab Emirates by the Iranians in this. And in fact, in some ways it's worse for the Iraqi Kurds because they don't have any air defenses, right? So the Iranians are throwing a lot of stuff at the Emirates, but the Emirates are shooting it all down, right? The Kurds are defenseless. And so far more stuff is actually hitting Kurdistan than anywhere else. And if you actually look at a map of where the stuff is actually hitting, there are all kinds of explosions all over Kurdistan. So they are far more vulnerable than anyone else is. In addition, they live right next to the Iranians, and what they're trying to calculate is what happens over the long term. If the Americans are going to be here to protect us against the Iranians over the long term, trust me, they will be with us. The Kurds hate the Iranians. They would love to be our allies. They've been trying to be our allies since 1975. We just keep throwing them in the gutter. But they're afraid that we won't be. And until they're convinced that we're going to stick around long after this war to help defend them against the Iranians, they are, hedging and trying very hard not to piss off the Iranians for fear that when this war ends, we're going to walk away and then the Iranians are going to come looking for revenge.
So President Trump sit down with Xi. What should he be asking of Xi vis-a-vis the Middle East and vis-a-vis America more generally with, in addition to saying, please stop sending your honeypots to our wink links like Eric Swalwell?
So, look, let's start with the fact that, as you're kind of pointing out there, Dan, we have huge equities with the Chinese, right? And the Middle East is clearly one set of issues we've got with them, and we need them to deal with that. But we can't lose sight of everything else going on there, right? And the administration has laid out, a whole bunch of different things that they want from the Chinese on trade, on other geoeconomic and geostrategic issues. They're absolutely right to do so. But, that's just it. Is we shouldn't trade off the Middle East on those other things. We shouldn't give up on those other things just to get their help on the Middle East. We got to strike a balance here. On the Middle East, we want a few things. One, we want their pressure on the Iranians. And in many ways, that's the most important thing. China is Iran's most important trade partner. And therefore, the Chinese have a lot of leverage with them. And the Chinese, frankly, were critically important in getting the Iranians to agree to the ceasefire in the first place. So we need to get the Chinese to lean on the Iranians, agree to reasonable terms. Second, we need to get the Chinese to be willing to cut off their trade with the Iranians if the Iranians won't do that. And, here there's a good argument for the president to make, which is, the Chinese want stability and peace in the region. And Iran, A, is the holdup right now, and B, is a force for instability, aggression, and violence in the Middle East. And frankly, the Chinese understand it. And it's always made the Chinese somewhat ambivalent about the Iranians. This is a moment when they need to get a lot more ambivalent about the Iranians. In fact, they need to read the Riot Act to the Iranians and say, enough of this stuff. You guys need to become responsible members of this community so we can all enjoy peace and prosperity.
Well, maybe you don't say this explicitly to Xi, because you don't want to embarrass him. But hey, Xi, the reality, the subtext is that you're dependent on Western economies. You're an export country, and your economy is weakening. You got all kinds of problems, and those problems are only going to multiply if you are antagonistic towards the West and particularly America.
Right. This is ultimately about, where's your bread really buttered? Right? How much are you getting from the Iranians? How important is that to you compared to your relationship with the United States and through us with the rest of the Western and developed world? Right? What do you want at the end of the day? And we need to recognize, again, the Chinese are antagonistic to us. I think at some level they do see us as the end. So they like the fact that the Iranians are frustrating us. But we got to get them over that, and we got to get them to focus on, where their real interests lie, which are with us, not with the Iranians.
Kenneth Pollack is the Vice President for Policy at the Middle East Institute, former Senior Fellow at the American Enterprise Institute as well. Kenneth Pollack, thanks so much for joining us. Appreciate it.
My pleasure, Dan. Thanks so much for having me on.
Yeah, and he joined us on the AlphaWealthGroup.com answer line.
It's news, opinion, insight. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Town Hall News, where conservative voices cut through the noise from breaking headlines to fearless opinion. We report what matters without apology. written by people who actually believe what you believe. Town Hall tells the stories the corporate press buries, from President Trump to Capitol Hill, from pivotal elections to your everyday lives. Join the movement at townhall.com. Real stories, real reporters, real conservative media.
I'd like to tell you about a man named Phineas who as a child survived the Holocaust. Phineas survived because Christians hid him from the Nazis, risking everything to save his life. Today, Phineas is in his 80s. He can no longer stand on his own or even leave his home to receive medical care. And when sirens sound and missiles fall, he doesn't have the time or the strength to reach safety. But once again, Christians are helping to save his life. Through the International Fellowship of Christians and Jews, a mobile clinic brings doctors and medicine right to Phineas's doorstep, providing care that he otherwise would not receive, especially during a time of war. Phineas said, "Christians saved my life during the Holocaust, and now again, they are helping me." As Israel's Holocaust Remembrance Day approaches, remember these precious children of God by lifting them up in prayer, asking for his protection, his comfort, and his peace. Stand with Israel in prayer by visiting supportifcj.org. That's supportifcj.org.
Let Cole Digital turn your outdoor space into the ultimate entertainment setup. With a 75-inch SunBright outdoor TV that can stay out year-round and great sound throughout. Like planter speakers on the patio, high-quality rock speakers that blend right into your landscape, or bronze garden speakers that blend into the environment. Our technicians will dig a hole and install an in-ground subwoofer for incredible bass and the best in sound quality. We also install outdoor-rated access points for Wi-Fi coverage throughout your yard, and cameras that let you keep an eye on everything with motion-activated recording. Tour our Cole Digital Design Center, 15,000 square feet of audio, video, and great design ideas. Cole Digital is family-owned by conservatives that share your values, and we're based right in Frankfurt. Visit Cole Digital today and schedule your consultation. ColeDigital.com. That's KOLE digital.com, or call 815-469-2000, and we'll bring the showroom to you. 815-469-2000. Cole Digital, what smart living is all about.
This is Albert Mohler for Townhall.com. The Trump administration has launched an investigation into Smith College, one of the 7 historical all-women's colleges in the American Northeast. Why the investigation? Well, Smith College is, and has been since 2015, admitting biological males. The 7 sisters have been granted an exemption going all the way back to the 1970s to Title IX legislation. They were allowed to be restrictive as women's colleges. The Trump administration is basically saying you can't have it both ways. That is, claim the historic exemption, or you can admit biological males. President Trump made the point very clear in his second inaugural address. He said, quote, "As of today, it will henceforth be the official policy of the United States government that there are only 2 genders, male and female," end quote. I will argue that that statement was one of the most important and courageous statements a president of the United States has made in recent years. To his credit, he's been pushing this through. It's a necessary step towards the restoration of cultural sanity, and for that clarity.
AM 560, The Answer.
Coming up at 7:37, we normally talk all things Illinois policy with Mark Lennon, founder of wirepoints.org. But he's been in Ukraine. He's in Poland right now. So we're going to get a debriefing of what he saw on the front lines in Ukraine. And maybe we'll get into a little Illinois policy as well. That's at 7:37. Now we check the headlines with Mike Scott.
7:32, 46 degrees. I'm Mike Scott in the QC Kinetics newsroom. President Trump says the ceasefire with Iran is on life support.
Say it like it is. Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. They're very dangerous. They're very volatile. It's a terrible thing that's happened over there. They've killed 42,000 people.
The president is also set to depart for China today. Meantime, Republicans notching another victory in the Supreme Court in the ongoing redistricting battle. In a 6-3 ruling, the justices lifted a federal court's injunction against Alabama Republicans and their congressional map, paving the way for it used to be in the 2026 midterms. Nebraska and West Virginia holding primary elections today. A man seriously injured in a shootout involving Chicago police. According to CPD, officers stopped a man who had a gun. During the stop, shots were fired. The man was rushed to nearby University of Chicago Hospital, where he's listed in serious condition. A firearm was recovered from the scene. A woman killed by police in Mundelein on Monday. It happened near a home on Ashbrook Drive around 6 p.m. Lake County, Illinois Major Crimes Task Force say police told them the woman rushed at them with 2 large knives, and only then was she shot by one of the officers. An Illinois state senator has joined environmental activists calling for more regulation of data centers near Joliet. State Senator Rachel Ventura.
There are currently no checks and balances on data center developers, and they're flooding the state with proposals, driving up our utility bills, threatening our water supply, and leaving our communities in the dark.
Opponents of the $20 billion data center project in Joliet say big tech money arrived before public oversight. Cubs on the road to begin a new 3-game set in Atlanta. White Sox host the Royals. And a check of the roads comes your way in 2 minutes on AM 560, The Answer.
Mike Gallagher loves shining the light on problems.
The Sarasota County Democratic Party is feeling disappointed. And then their comment was, well, that sucks. Oh, it sucks that the assassin didn't hit his target? There is a cleansing here. The rock is being lifted up and the cockroaches are being revealed. And there's a lot of cockroaches.
The Mike Gallagher Show. Weekdays at 9 on AM 560. The Answer.
It's Reveille. The U.S. Supreme Court decision in Louisiana v. Calais affirmed that legislative districts cannot be drawn primarily on the basis of race. In response to that ruling, I have filed a federal lawsuit against Governor J.B. Pritzker of the Illinois State Board of Elections and its executive director for violating the U.S. Constitution through Illinois' race-based legislative mapping process. I'm challenging the explicit use of race as a primary factor in drawing legislative boundaries in Illinois, and the case couldn't be clearer. Illinois law says legislative districts shall be drawn to create crossover, coalition, and influence districts, and it then defines those districts specifically using race as a criteria. As an example, the statute literally says coalition district means a district where more than one group of racial minorities may form a coalition to elect the candidate of the coalition's choice. Illinois Democrats are obsessed with providing race-based preferential treatment wherever possible, so it's likely they will put up a fight. Already, Pritzker has said the SCOTUS decision guts the Voting Rights Act, and he called the decision voter suppression that will silence Black and brown voters. Lauren Underwood, the Black congresswoman representing Illinois' 14th congressional district, called the decision the latest Republican assault on Black voters. But neither politician has a leg to stand on. Pritzker promised an independent commission to draw the maps and then signed a map drawn by only Democrats that received an F rating for its unfairness. Underwood has had no problem getting elected and reelected in a district that is 63% white and only 9% Black. Meanwhile, Illinois has been run on racial politics for decades, and yet Chicago is one of the most segregated cities in America. Explain that. They can't. I'm Jeannie Ives. Listen to The Real Story Monday through Friday at 11 a.m. and sign up for my newsletter at breakthrough-ideas.com.
Shop the AM 560 store. Order t-shirts, hoodies, and more from your favorite AM 560 brands, including Proft University and The Sean Thompson Show when you go to 560theanswer.com/store.
Giving your liver a spring cleaning is easy with Active Liver from New Nordic. Search for Active Liver by New Nordic on Amazon, CVS, Wegmans, or GNC.
7:37 Team Hochberg Traffic Center time is the service of True Green, the easiest way to get a golf course quality lawn. Don't wait. Sign up at truegreen.com. Get your first application for $9.95. True Green is the official lawn care treatment provider of the PGA Tour. Let the pros do the work so you can enjoy the weekend. Hurry. Offer ends 5/21 and restrictions do apply. Kennedy. Express lanes have a delay and an accident with a right lane block inbound right at Armitage this morning. Stevenson inbound slows up on the brakes. Harlem to Kedzie. And delays, slow traffic eastbound Jane Addams, I-90 between Meacham and Route 53. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. But first, a check of your forecast in our Air Right Heating and Cooling Weather Center. Cloudy today, windy and warmer by the afternoon, and gusty winds and maybe a thunderstorm. High of 75.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com.
This hourly segment is brought to you by the Alpha Wealth Group, bringing the trilogy of estate, tax, and investment planning together. Visit alphawealthgroup.com for a free report.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios.
Insert Democrat socialist here.
Runs the Democratic House floor for 30 plus years running. He's promising this and he's stealing that. Where can you get that kind of money? He's using your house like his own piggy bank. You ought to know by now. You can pay off your house here in Illinois, but you can never keep up with the taxes. Oh, how it's always been the plan to have a taxpayer pay, no doubt. Not a matter of if anymore, but when. You're moving out. I said, when you're moving out.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. That theme music means it's time for our weekly conversation with the wirepoints.org folks. All things Illinois policy related. Mark Lennon is the founder of wirepoints.org, and he joins us from Poland. We're going to do something different than we normally do because Mark, as he mentioned he would be doing a couple weeks back, has went to Ukraine, has been in Ukraine, and he's going to report back with some first-person accounting of what it looks like ground level there. Mark, thanks so much for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thanks for taking this up, Dan.
So tell us what you saw.
Yeah, well, I was in a safe area of Ukraine, the western part, mostly in Lviv, which looks like life is normal. They're trying to live their lives as normal, keep the economy going. Lviv, of course, is a beautiful city, and it has retained that. Some parts of the countryside look a little tired, as you'd expect, but for the most part, it's fine in the west. The front, of course, remains brutal, despite the tremendous success that the Ukrainians have been having. And on the war front, this is where the American press has just been way, way behind things. They fought the Russians to a standstill at least a year ago, despite, I have to say, Trump's claims that the Ukrainians were losing. And now they really have some spring in their step. There are these deep strikes going into Russia, are crippling the Russian economy. They are stopped on the front. They've lost 1.3 million casualties, the Russians have, including 500,000 dead. The joke in Ukraine, I've heard several times, is at the start of the war, we were told we could never win because we're trying to fight the second best army in the world. Well, today we're fighting the second best army in Ukraine. And that turns out to be pretty true. And don't take my word for it. Let me just say, don't take my word for these things. It's the most notable commentary that I watch closely that gets reported, not by the American press but by others, is from Russians. Including very prominent voices there that are ultra-nationalist, rah-rah war, expansionary Putin fans. They say the war is lost. The Russian economy is in deep trouble. The head of the Communist Party, who's in the Duma, the parliament, said last week that they're facing a 1917-style revolution again if somehow things aren't turned around. And he was referring to the war they're losing and the economy.
I'm not so sure that anybody really thought that this was the Russian bear of the Soviet era, but it's just the overwhelming resource advantage that the Russians had. Where is the casualty? Not that this is how you measure success, but where's the casualty number at for the Ukrainians?
The highest credible estimate I've seen is 200,000 dead. That number is less certain because the Ukrainians don't release the number. We know for sure that it's 15,000 civilians because Putin kills families in their beds pretty much every night. But estimates range from 100,000 to 200,000.
And so how is this statement that Putin made over the weekend that the war may be coming to an end very soon? Is that you think that's the result, I'm assuming, of what you're describing in terms of the state of the war?
It's a head scratcher. That was very significant because the Russia experts were stunned that he would say even that, but he did not elaborate. So whether he's going to declare victory and pull out or escalate or whatever, we don't know. And so I can't speculate on that either.
What do the Ukrainians that you talked to think of Zelensky? I mean, there was another high-profile incident of alleged corruption. His second in command is at the center of it. Is that something they treat like we treat corruption in Chicago, as just part of the price of living there?
No, even that's the fight against corruption is like a second war for the Ukrainians. That's part of why they had their initial revolution that sparked all this in 2014. The pro-Russian president that they had elected, who turned pro-Russian and was dismantling democracy, was extremely corrupt, and so that's part of why they revolted against him. They do not like Zelensky's tolerance for corruption, and I think it's absolutely fair to say that Zelensky tolerates that. He stepped on some of the anti-corruption measures, but the prosecutor, that scandal you're talking about, they've indicted 9 people already, more coming. The people are dead set against corruption and cleaning that up, and the likely replacements are clean as a whistle, as far as I can tell. It's a guy named Zalewski and another one named Budanov. They're both come out of the military, would continue the war effort as it is, and really fight corruption, I believe. So that's a point I really want to emphasize. Don't equate Ukraine with Zelensky. They are not the same thing. And if you got complaints about Zelensky, make them, but don't dump on the whole country. Again, I'm afraid the president is done and the vice president.
Well, I mean, Zelensky also handled himself poorly in the last administration and into this one, particularly when he was at the White House. That was not the best strategic approach I've ever seen. So you can understand why there is some skepticism about him. I mean, it's just like talking about Xi is not talking about the Chinese people necessarily, but I mean, you have to deal with the heads of state at that level, obviously.
Yeah, and fundamentally, Ukraine does have to make concessions to get a peace deal. I mean, I'm fully in Trump's camp in terms of pushing both sides hard to get a peace deal, and that's going to require giving up some territory by Ukraine. And Zelensky is accused of not being cooperative enough on that and prolonging the war. That's valid criticism, I think, although, again, the Ukrainians, I mean, my fear is that the Ukrainians are getting so optimistic that they're going to expand their ambitions, conceivably to include the Crimea, which is the, heavily desired piece of territory on the south, on the Black Sea, that the Russians seized in 2014, but Ukrainians want back.
And the populace, just the regular people that you interacted with, they are not so weary with this battle. I mean, 200,000 dead. I mean, good grief. That they will fight on and as you say, try to try to push the Russians back out of Donbass, try to get Crimea back. That's the attitude of the average Ukrainian.
That was probably the primary thing that I wanted to get a feel for, is that charge. Some critics of the war say they don't have the will to fight. This is all a Zelensky fight and American corporations promoting this, blah, blah, blah. The Ukrainians are tired of the war. Yeah, they're tired. They want a peace deal, too, just as I described. But, yeah, it's as best I can tell from talking to people and from all the polls that clearly show this, 2/3 of Ukrainians are willing to fight to the end. unless they can get a fair peace deal, something that gives them security, preserves their democracy. They've lived under Russian rule before, obviously in the Soviet days, and they do not want to go back. And they will look in your eye and say, "We will fight to the end." And I've had people do that.
Well, I mean, yeah, and I mean, obviously they know their own country's history and the famine that was imposed on them by the Soviets and so forth too. So I mean, they know what they're dealing with, right?
That's right. And there were at the start of the war, there were 2 million, 4 million probably Russians inside Ukraine. I mean, they were ethnically Russian, spoke Russian. So they sided with the Russians. 1.5 million or so of them moved to Russia. They're mostly in those areas occupied by Russia now. So that 1/3, of Ukrainians that's out there that might not be so crazy about the war. Well, if not those Russians, they have friends and family that are, and probably from Soviet days, they have friends and family in Russia. So the 2/3 number is a pretty strong number. And by the way, it's a whole lot higher than American support for the revolution was at the time of our revolution. It was at the most 50%.
What's their attitude towards America specifically, NATO generally, NATO countries?
Certainly more positive than it is towards Trump. I mean, I have to tell you, they and the whole region don't like Trump. You look at Trump's approval ratings through, Hungary, Poland, Slovakia, Czech Republic. It's in the 20s, but they're kind of ambivalent to the European Union. They do want to join the European Union. They were not happy with the Europeans for being so slow to come to their aid. But, we have shifted. America does not fund the war anymore, for over a year, or provide any philanthropic aid. $110 billion was just allocated by the Europeans. So the Ukrainians are very grateful for that. And again, I'm sorry to say that, Trump and Vance campaign for the one guy that was trying to block that European aid. I mean, we wanted to shift the burden over to the Europeans, but then we tried to block the European aid by supporting Viktor Orban, who was the main obstacle. I just don't get that. That's just a head scratcher to me.
You haven't seen Hunter Biden out there while you were there, did you? I don't know, maybe at the Burisma corporate office or anything.
They're well aware of that whole story, and they're just disgusted by the whole thing. And that's another example. Are you going to blame all of Ukraine for Zelensky's corruption? Well, the Biden family was a crime wave, and I would hope that if America had a catastrophe, people would still come to our aid despite that.
Yes. Well, when you get back, we have another scene that we need you to be, sort of reporter on the ground for. I mean, it's rocking your former stomping grounds, the North Shore. I don't know if you've heard. You've had bigger matters to tend to, but there was an incident at Tony Indian Hill Country Club where a 22-year-old worker there apparently pointed a gun at his coworker's head and then left. Now, he was subsequently arrested, but you can imagine the trauma that Indian Hill members are suffering today and probably will suffer for years to come. So we're going to need you to make sure that your former North Shore neighbors are okay.
Yeah. Well, you might want to see if you can get Bill Murray on the phone to chime in. That's
exactly
where he used to caddy.
No, I know. Yeah, I know. Thankfully, the Haverkamps were not injured. So that's the good news. Mark Glennon, founder of WirePoints, wirepoints.org, all things Illinois policy related. Coming to us from Poland. Are you on your way back now?
Yeah, you got to take a train in to get into Ukraine. So I took a train back. I'm in the beautiful Carpathian Mountains. Looks like Switzerland around here, in the south of Poland.
Very nice. Well, enjoy the rest of your European vacation of sorts. Mark, thanks so much. Appreciate it.
Okay, Dan, thank you.
And Mark joined us on the alphawealthgroup.com answer line.
The stories you need to know to start your day. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Hi, I'm Ken Mariotti, owner of Woodland Windows and Doors, a third-generation family-owned business since 1969. We know you're bombarded by choices when shopping for new windows or doors, so we're inviting you to experience the Woodland difference. For decades, we have been transforming living spaces with Marvin Windows, a fifth-generation family business. Marvin replacement windows have been known to increase the warmth of your cold rooms by 10 degrees. Think about that, 10 degrees warmer. When you welcome Woodland into your home, you will get a product expert to transform your living spaces, full-time, dedicated professional installers that you can trust in your home, along with the best products like Marvin. These are the reasons we're proud of our 5-star reviews and family legacy. No gimmicks, no pressure, and upfront pricing are why Woodland Windows and Doors is your trusted window and door expert in Chicagoland. Visit woodlandwindows.com to book your free in-home expert consultation. That's woodlandwindows.com, or stop by our showroom at the corner of Lake and Geary in Roselle.
Chicagoland certified financial planning professional Tim Stearns discusses taxes in retirement.
Most people are paying more in taxes and keeping less of their money to live and do what they enjoy. That's why we've put out the retirement tax bill calculator online. You can see with your own eyes just how much you might be overpaying. It's a valuable tool, $500 value, but we made it free for you to view and run your own numbers at MVPCFP.com. That's MVPCFP.com.
To run your retirement tax bill calculator, go to MVPCFP.com.
Investment advisory services offered through Cornerstone Securities, LLC.
Welcome to another edition of Tuesdays with Tim. My friend Tim Stearns, a certified financial planner with TJ Stearns Financial Planning in Arlington Heights. Tim, how are you? Welcome back.
Doing well. Thanks for having me.
So, Tim, let's check in on how you've been helping clients achieve financial security and peace of mind. Perhaps you have a story or two, a success story or two, an example of how you've helped clients recently.
I remember I had a neighbor who, believe it or not, was a longtime listener to your show. And he had come up to me in the yard and said he wanted to stop and smell the roses and kind of get out of his job. He was done taking the train downtown to Chicago every day and basically working 60 hours a week for a company that didn't really care about him or his family. So we started running numbers, and lo and behold, he was able to retire 5 years earlier. He's now 12 years retired. He's a grandpa. He's loving life. He, too, needed a protect and grow blueprint, and he had to make sure he wasn't leaving anything to chance for their future.
Thank you, Tim. If you're in your 50s or 60s, I want you to speak with my friend Tim Stearns, TJ Stearns Financial Planning. Tim will help you structure and optimize your savings to prepare for 20 to 30 years of enjoyable retirement. Call Tim today to schedule your free consultation and get your free Protect and Grow blueprint. Call 1-800-640-2256. Again, that number, 800-640-2256. Tell them I sent you when you call Tim at 800-640-2256.
Platform safety is critical at your commercial and industrial facility. Keeping people safe and meeting OSHA requirements isn't optional. That's why Vans Industrial offers free platform inspections by professional structural engineers who know exactly what to look for. Problems with platforms, ladders, or stairs can lead to costly fines or worse. Vans Industrial helps you meet OSHA standards to protect people in your facility.
Hi, I'm Dave Van Camp, president of Vans Industrial. With decades of experience, I bring long-standing industry knowledge from inspecting, correcting, and replacing countless platforms to make facilities safer. Vans Industrial is a specialty contractor equipped to modify or replace steel catwalks, handrails, stairways, and ladders. Our union building trades professionals fabricate and install high-quality steel systems that create safer work environments.
Call 833-VANS-IND for a free platform inspection by professional structural engineers. See what else we can do for you. Visit vansindustrial.com. That's VANS Industrial.com.
President Trump has triggered a $200 billion tech disruption, and Wall Street is asleep at the switch. This $200 billion investment in chip technology could make today's artificial intelligence chips obsolete. Technology that will make today's AI data centers a thing of the past, like IBM's old mainframes. While most investors are focused on old-fashioned AI, there are three companies quietly building a trillion-dollar triangle that could transform every tech sector on Earth. These three companies are gearing up to develop and manufacture supercomputers the size of a dinner plate. Institutions like Vanguard, BlackRock, and State Street are pouring more than $200 billion into this AI revolution. Investment guru George Gilder has been predicting tech revolutions for more than 40 years, including the iPhone, Netflix, and Amazon. Now he's got his finger on 3 companies whose technology will change tech forever. Log on to TrillionDollarTriangle.com to find out which 3 companies are working on what could be the biggest tech disruption since the internet. TrillionDollarTriangle.com. That's TrillionDollarTriangle.com.
Need a little hope in your life? Listen to Truth for Life with Alistair Begg every weekday morning starting at 7:30 a.m. on our sister station, AM 1160. Hope for your life. AM 560, The Answer.
Dan Propp here. Just a little bit more on that incident at Indian Hill Country Club. Yes, as Mark Lennon mentioned, where the Murrays caddied and was the inspiration for Caddyshack. Thank goodness Caddy Master Lou Loomis was there.
What's that sign say? No bare feet. What's that sign say? No fighting.
No loaded gun.
No
No loaded gun.
You owe me 1 gumball machine. What's that candy wrapper doing there?
Yeah, and you, Angie, pick up that blood. Hopefully the individual charged with, arrested and charged with pointing a gun at a coworker's head, rather than getting like Judge Like in Cook County, he should have to face Judge Schmales, who, as you know, has sent boys younger than him to the gas chamber, not because he wanted to, but because he felt he owed it to them. How about a Fresca? Coming up at 8:08, he's going to be joining us for Cigar Night, a week from today, May 19th. He is Alex Marlow. He's the editor-in-chief of Breitbart News and host of the Alex Marlow Show on these airwaves, 3 to 4. We'll discuss the Save America Act, midterms. Alex Marlow, 8:08. It's now 8 o'clock on AM 560 WIND.
Inflation rises again. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. Because of the surge in oil and at the gas pump, the consumer price index rose 0.6% last month, and the annual rate jumped up in April, too.
Year over year, 3.8%. That's just a little bit hotter than we expected. We were looking for 3.7, and it's much higher than the 3.3 we got the month prior.
Fox Business Network Cheryl Casoni, as oil prices rise again this morning, up 3% with no end in sight to the Iran conflict after the president said the ceasefire is on life support, calling Iran's counterproposal garbage. With the U.S. blockade around Iran's ports still in place, he'll today go to China, which relies heavily on Iran's oil. Interior Secretary Doug Burgum just told Fox.
The U.S. economy is strong. China's economy is faltering. It's just a great spot, and President Trump's leadership is putting us in a great place to come out on top.
Well, the War Secretary is at the Capitol testifying at a House hearing before also going to the Senate later.
This department remains laser focused on increasing lethality and survivability of our fighting force from the front lines the factory floors.
And as Fox's Jennifer Griffin reports from the Capitol, Pete Hegseth is pushing a $1.5 trillion military budget next year.
A 44% increase from a year ago. With the Iran war as a backdrop and concerns from lawmakers that the Pentagon is not being honest about what the war has cost so far, expect heated questioning.
18 passengers taken from the hantavirus-stricken cruise ship remain isolated in the U.S., most in Nebraska, none showing symptoms there. Of the 2 in quarantine in Atlanta, 1 had mild symptoms. It's primary day in 2 states, West Virginia and Nebraska, where the polls just opened, and one race getting the most attention for a House seat. Democrats hope to flip from red to blue.
GOP Rep Don Bacon is not seeking re-election, and where millions of dollars in out-of-state money has been spent by several Democrats, including ugly primary battles between leading hopefuls John Kavanaugh and Denise Powell. President Trump-backed Brinker Harding is running unopposed on the Republican side.
That's Jeff Manasso. America's listening to Fox News. Variable clouds, 46 degrees, 8:02 on AM 560. The Answer. I'm Mike Scott in the QC Kinetics newsroom. A man seriously hurt in a shootout involving Chicago police. The shooting happened last night around 10:35 in the 3100 block of East 83rd. A suspect was rushed to the nearby University of Chicago hospital and this morning is listed in serious condition. Authorities have named the teen killed in a shooting during a post-prom party over the weekend in northwest Indiana. The LaPorte County coroner says 17-year-old Javon Townsend died after shots were fired in Pine Township Saturday night. The party reportedly followed Michigan City High School's prom. Corporations that do business in Illinois would be taxed to fund public education under a revenue proposal unveiled in the state legislature. State Senator Robert Martwick says his Senate bill asks businesses to pay high taxes just like his neighbors do to fund public education.
Can't you just do the same thing? Can't you invest in my children's education?
Ellen Pasetsky, a tax practitioner and advisor for the Global Business Alliance, says worldwide combined reporting, that's the issue Martwick has in his bill, was eliminated years ago.
Why was it eliminated? Not because of lobbyists. It was not because of profit shifting. It was eliminated because foreign countries complained that their companies in those countries were being double taxed.
Martwick's candidate committee, Friends of Robert Martwick, received $278,000 from the Illinois Political Action Committee for Education last September. In December, Martwick's committee received $183,000 from the Illinois Federation of Teachers, and thousands more from CTU. Cubs on the road to begin a new 3-game series in Atlanta. White Sox host the KC Royals tonight. Now an update from Fox Business and the latest from the Fox Business Network.
I'm Charles Payne, and this is the Fox Business Report.
Stocks are under pressure. Efforts to resolve the Mideast conflict are showing little sign of progress, and crude oil prices are higher. eBay has officially rejected GameStop's $56 billion takeover offer. eBay expressed doubts about how the deal is financed and says its own turnaround plan is boosting its growth. Waymo is recalling nearly 3,800 of its robo-taxis in the U.S. because a self-driving software issue could cause the cars to drive onto flooded roads. Waymo says it has a temporary fix and a full remedy is under development. It operates robo-taxis in California, Texas, Florida, Arizona, and Georgia. And wearable camera company GoPro says it is reviewing multiple unsolicited offers to buy the business. That's your Fox Business Report. I'm Jenny Cosola. Invested in you.
For over a decade, AM 560 has marked the start of summer with a night of cigar smoking and great conversation. And this year, we're proud to welcome the editor-in-chief of Breitbart News to Cigar Night. He's Alex Marlowe, and he'll join AM 560's Dan Proft and Sean Thompson on Tuesday, May 19th at Gobridge Farm in Pingree Grove for a night you won't forget. Tickets are on sale now at 560theanswer.com/cigar. That's 560theanswer.com/cigar. Sponsored by Liberty Cigar Company. Sign up for the AM 560 Answer Advantage to get early alerts on event ticket sales, special discounts, and contest opportunities. Sign up today at 560theanswer.com/advantage.
Let Cole Digital turn your outdoor space into the ultimate entertainment setup. With a 75-inch SunBright outdoor TV that can stay out year-round and great sound throughout. Like planter speakers on the patio, high-quality rock speakers that blend right into your landscape, or bronze garden speakers that blend into the environment. Our technicians will dig a hole and install an in-ground subwoofer for incredible bass and the best in sound quality. We also install outdoor-rated access points for Wi-Fi coverage throughout your yard, and cameras that let you keep an eye on everything with motion-activated recording. Tour our Cole Digital Design Center, 15,000 square feet of audio, video, and great design ideas. Cole Digital is family-owned by conservatives that share your values, and we're based right in Frankfurt. Visit Cole Digital today and schedule your consultation. ColeDigital.com. That's KOLE Digital.com. Or call 815-469-2000, and we'll bring the showroom to you. 815-469-2000. Cole Digital, what smart living is all about.
Here's sound teaching from God's Word from Dr. David Jeremiah on Turning Point. Each weekday morning at 9:30 on our sister station, AM 1160. Hope for your life.
Are you turning 65 and thinking about Medicare? Or are you over 65 and haven't enrolled yet because you still have coverage at work? Either way, Medicare done correctly will be the best health insurance you will ever have. Imagine having an annual deductible of only $283. There are only two good things about aging: wisdom and Medicare. But to navigate the Medicare maze properly, you need a mentor. Best part? My guidance costs you nothing. Call me. I can help.
If you're tired of calling a bureaucrat at an 800 number to help you navigate Medicare, then you need a local expert on your side. Your own health insurance mentor. C. Stephen Tucker from healthinsurancementors.com is someone I know and trust. He's a 30-year licensed broker who's been educating our listeners for more than a decade. Steve, how can our listeners get in touch with you?
Thanks, Dan. They can visit healthinsurancementors.com or call me directly at 630-674-1551. That's 630-674-1551.
Gain insight into building strong marriages and raising godly children with Focus on the Family with Jim Daly each weekday at 11:30 a.m. on our sister station, AM 1160. Hope for your life.
Each morning, the newsmakers and the newsbreakers shaping today's conversation are heard on the AlphaWealthGroup.com answer line on Chicago's Morning Answer. When you need answers about what's happening in your world, you turn to AM 560 The Answer. And when you need answers about how to prepare for and protect your retirement, you turn to the Alpha Wealth Group, now the proud sponsor of the AM 560 Answer line, right here on Chicago's source for news, opinion, and insight. AM 560 The Answer.
8:09, Team Hochberg Traffic Center time. Tri-State, it's a mess northbound, right at Ogden Avenue, backing up to 75th. Due to an accident, 2 right lanes are blocked right now. Police are on the scene. Route 53, stop and go northbound between the Ike and Northwest Highway in that ongoing roadwork zone. This morning, big delays on Lakeshore Drive, northbound between Bryn Mawr and Hollywood. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. But first, a check of your forecast in our Air Right Heating and Cooling Weather Center.
Today will be mostly cloudy with increasing wind and warmer temperatures. Expect a few showers in the afternoon, possibly accompanied by gusty winds and small hail. The high will reach 73 degrees. Tonight, there is a chance of a thunderstorm in some areas during the evening. Otherwise, it'll be partly cloudy and windy with a low of 51 degrees. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. Mara Gay is an opinion writer for The Gray Lady, the New York Times. And she is none too happy with the Supreme Court's callous decision and the resulting remapping that's going on. Also none too happy with the Virginia State Supreme Court. And she's parroting the party line on that score.
We actually don't know what this means for the national Republican or Democratic Party overall. That's going to play out. What we do know so far is that Black political power in the South and therefore in the country has been severely diluted and kneecapped. And that's both in terms of representation, so the ability of these voters under Section 2 to choose someone who often happened to be Black, but not always, is the case with Representative Stephen Cohen in Memphis. But also in terms of the voting bloc. So I think it's really important that even though what Jonathan says has a lot of truth to it, it's also true that because of the gutting of the Voting Rights Act, these voting blocs have been split, not in two necessarily, but fractured, which actually makes it very difficult to have a moderating effect, likely, on these other districts. So it's going to be hard in Tennessee, for example, looking at the map. You know, Black voters might be 20% of a district that is overwhelmingly MAGA. That's not really going to help them get fair representation. So I think that that's still to play out. But it's clear just the swiftness with which these Southern legislatures moved, these Republicans moved, to eliminate Black political power. It's clear that the Republicans see Black political power as a democratizing force, which it is. They understand that. And this is a way to consolidate power. And it's also a way to express white supremacy. So it's both.
There it is.
And I don't think we should miss that. And yes, it's going to animate black people and many other Democrats who are angry about this. But, I mean, you know, Joe, because you are from the South, that what the South experiences is not unique. It's just in some ways more American. So I think a lot of Americans who are outside the South should take this as a wake-up call that their own rights are under threat. This is an attempt, I believe, to steal an election. And it may not work, you know. I believe in democracy. I believe in the ability of people to organize. But make no mistake, this is devastating. And the gravity of this is only beginning to make itself felt.
Yeah, capital D, democratizing. I got some great news from Mara Gay, because black political power, that's all she's interested in. Not of any particular persuasion, of course, right, Mara? Great news. Charlotte Bergman, a black female, is likely to replace Stephen Cohn in that seat in Memphis in Tennessee. I mean, she happens to be a Republican, but you don't care about that because you're just interested in black political power, right? I got some more good news. Byron Donalds, who's a black member of Congress, is likely to be the next governor of Florida following Ron DeSantis. Yeah, because you're just interested in black political power, not any particular ideological bent, right? But, you know, as much as it's been a wonderful development, the well-reasoned Alito majority opinion in Calais, the well-reasoned opinion from the Virginia State Supreme Court about a neo-Marxist party in that state that didn't follow the state constitution in terms of what it demands for any sort of gambit as they pursued. I wouldn't go spiking the football. The balance of power and the likelihood that Republicans can hold the House has certainly increased, but there are still some prickly matters to deal with. One of them is the Save America Act, and you still have Mike Lee out there beating the drum for an enforcement of the talking filibuster or nuking the filibuster. And President Trump, in his sit-down with Cheryl Atkinson for her full measure program, had this to say.
I believe coming up on the 2020 election. The 2020 election was rigged. You know, when I used to say that, they'd say, oh, the cameras would turn off. How can you say? Now they don't turn. The information, a lot of it's already out there. The election was rigged. It was rigged. You look at Georgia, you look at Pennsylvania, you look at these states, they were rigged. It was a rigged election. And they used COVID to do it, and they used crooked, dirty cops to do it. You know, they had dirty cops. Like you read about Comey. Comey's a dirty cop, bad guy, bad for the country, bad guy. But no, the 2020 election was rigged. Anytime you have mail-in voting, you're going to have a rigged election. Anytime you're not using voter ID, the Democrats don't want. They're fighting us on the Save America Act. Anytime you don't have, when somebody says we don't want voter identification, that means they want to cheat.
Yeah, and just one more point of order. I mentioned it the other day. Jeannie Ives mentioned in her commentary this morning. Lauren Underwood, she's a black female Democrat, and she represents a district in suburban and exurban Illinois that's 9% black, majority white. It's funny because Lauren Underwood, as I mentioned again yesterday, she said essentially that, hey, we can still compete even if it's not a majority black district. Yeah, right. So why don't you knock off the Jim Crow 2.0 nonsense? Well, they can't do that. Alex Marlow is the editor-in-chief of Breitbart News. He's also the host of the Alex Marlow Show, which airs 3 to 4 on these airwaves. And he'll be in town next Tuesday night at Gobert's Farm for our cigar night, joining me and Sean. I'll get those details to you after we talk to Alex. Alex, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Dan, my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
So, you know, the response from the identitarians is hardly surprising. But as I was saying, this doesn't mean it's a positive development. There's no question about it beyond just these midterms. It's just the end of racist gerrymandering, which is great for the country. But as it pertains to these midterms, Republicans still have some water to bail.
Yeah, they do, and it's an uphill climb in the midterms given the state of the map. But I actually welcome these clips and quotes and highlighting people like Mara Gay. It just shows you the Democrats stand for nothing aside from that they hate Trump. These are ideas that are so retrograde, they look backwards, and they're not actually solving any problems. It's particularly if you're a semi-smart person, you can follow the decisions. They're actually eliminating seats of white liberals, black conservatives are going to take the seats. Black conservatives support this. And so it's one of these things where if you actually think for more than 5 seconds about it, it's really the left that's pandering to blacks in an insane way. Think about that AOC quote last week where she said that black Americans invented democracy, not the Greeks, wasn't advanced in Rome and France and then in America by white Americans. No, it was black Americans who invented it. No one actually believes that, and I think a lot of black people are really rolling their eyes now at the Democrats.
Yeah, well, and the other thing that's happening, too, as we saw in 2024 is, I mean, it's still a distinct minority, to be sure, but you have more black voters, particularly black men, moving in the direction, younger black men moving in the direction of the Republican Party.
Yeah, Trump's black support doubled, I think, from 2020 into 2024, and it's only going to go up from there. But all it is white socialists understand the best way to win elections in this country is to move blocks of voters. And so when they treat blacks like you're supposed to vote a certain way or you're a pariah to your race, that makes it easier to move more voters at the same time. And once you understand that it's all just a cynical shell game, then there's a chance for us to pick up a lot of voters who have open minds and do think for themselves.
What's your perspective on the Save America Act and the prospect that Thune will, at minimum, find the intestinal fortitude to force a talking filibuster?
Yeah, I don't think it's going to happen, but I think you're correct to highlight it often because it's not acceptable, and it's tone deaf of where the energy is among base voters, the type of people who are going to win or lose this election for Republicans. They not only want this, they see it as completely insane and it hasn't been passed to this point, or at least make the Democrats work harder to stop it. And he's indulging a couple of moderates in his Republican conference at the expense of the vast majority of people who could win this election for the Republicans in the midterm. And it's a huge mistake.
If Thune won't do it, clearly he won't, do you think Mike Lee and other aggressive conservative senators should be calling out their colleagues and saying, the problem is Lisa Murkowski, the problem is Mitch McConnell, the problem is Tom Tillis, and we need to focus on getting the wrong people to do the right thing here?
The problem is the names you listed are all people who are real iconoclasts, and Tom Tillis might be a total idiot, and Susan Collins and Lisa Murkowski are. It's the sort of thing where a devastating opinion piece that I make the lead at Breitbart News is not going to convince Susan Collins or Lisa Murkowski to come to her senses, and that's kind of what we're up against. Is that the base is not persuasive to those people. And I think Mike Lee is a hero, one of my favorite people in all of American public life, but I just don't necessarily see him persuading anyone, but he'll make great points. I just don't know if he's going to persuade anyone that's necessary to get this across.
Well, then do you share his concern that even if Trump extricates America from Iran with a decided victory, even if the economy is roaring and the markets are up, that you're going to see base Republican voters, MAGA voters, with Trump not on the ballot, sit on their hands?
So I'll give you in my brain, I feel like that's a great analysis. But in my heart, to be honest with you, I'm too optimistic about this because I think the Democrats, the fact they don't stand for anything, the fact that they're such demagogues, that they're completely confused, they don't have a single platform position that they're actually campaigning on. Their leadership is so toxic that they can't put their people out there. Gavin Newsom runs for president, and he goes down the polls. In L.A., where I'm at, the Democrat candidates can't go out in public because they always go down in the polls whenever they do. It makes me think that if Trump can get us out of Iran with a victory in short order, and we can start talking about the MAGA agenda and how he's pushed it forward, I don't know how the Democrats are going to defend that. And it's going to be close one way or the other. It's not going to be a blowout. One side's going to win by a little bit, and I still feel like we got a good shot.
Since you're out there in L.A., what is your optimism about Spencer Pratt actually being able to pull off the upset there?
Frankly, be fairly low in terms of winning. I think what he's doing is incredibly productive in terms of starting essential conversations to a city that's completely broken. But I do mean it's completely broken. I was born out here. I've spent 32 of my 40 years out here. And basically the city's controlled by the unions, and the unions are locked up behind Bass. They know how to win, and until I see otherwise, I'm not going to actually buy he's going to win. But that said, every day at Breitbart, we're going to treat it like he's got a shot, because his campaign is pure Trumpian, and I love to see it.
Yeah. And do you think that, I mean, we were talking about this a bit yesterday too, and, Bass trotting out the Magic Johnson endorsement in the most ham-handed way possible. Yeah. Sort of like an old Soviet would. And but that model is not going to, it may get Karen Bass one more term just because of the inertia that you're describing, but that model is not going to last in very many places for very much longer.
I sure hope not, and especially in our hyper-media age, that it does feel like, how often can you see these celebrities who just all seem very stupid? Magic Johnson's not a stupid person, but he just seems, it's not an ad that's persuasive to anyone unless you're just an old person who might be a voter, though, but there might be someone who's got nostalgia over Magic Johnson, and that's all it takes to get them to vote. I'm not underestimating it's a few people, but again, it's the unions move blocks of voters in L.A., and they are 100% behind Karen Bass, and that is a massive, massive problem if we want to see victory. But identifying it and then also talking about all of the problems that Pratt is talking about with the widespread incompetence in our city government is still a productive exercise to go through.
No question. And we're very familiar with the paradigm you're describing in L.A. here in Chicago, so we get it. All right, Alex Marlow, he's the editor-in-chief of Breitbart News. He is joining us for Cigar Night a week from today. That's May 19th, Tuesday evening at Gobert's Farm in Pingree Grove. We still have a few tickets available and a few of VIP, too. 560theanswer.com/cigar. 560theanswer.com/cigar to pick up those tickets. And you can also hear Alex 3 to 4 on these airwaves. Alex, thanks so much for joining us, and we'll see you next Tuesday night.
Yeah, it's great to meet you. Everyone come out and see us. It's great to be together with friends, particularly if you're like us and we all live in blue areas. This is a great opportunity.
Yes, exactly. It's sort of a therapy session, as it were, with cigars. So that
we're going to have some fun.
Alex Marlow joined us on the AlphaWealthGroup.com answer line. Thanks.
The more you listen, the more you'll know. This is Chicago's Morning Answer. Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Chicagoland certified financial planning professional Tim Stearns discusses taxes in retirement.
Most people are paying more in taxes and keeping less of their money to live and do what they enjoy. That's why we've put out the retirement tax bill calculator online. You can see with your own eyes just how much you might be overpaying. It's a valuable tool, $500 value, but we made it free for you to view and run your own numbers at MVPCFP.com. That's MVPCFP.com.
To run your retirement tax bill calculator, go to MVPCFP.com.
Investment advisory services offered through Cornerstone Securities, LLC.
Welcome to another edition of Tuesdays with Tim. My friend Tim Stearns, a certified financial planner with TJ Stearns Financial Planning in Arlington Heights. Tim, how are you? Welcome back.
Doing well. Thanks for having me.
Tim, for more than 25 years, you've been helping clients achieve financial security and peace of mind, which has to be rewarding. Doing it a long time. You've got a lot of success stories on a daily basis, I'm sure. Can you give our listeners an example of a family that you've helped out recently that comes to mind?
We had a 65-year-old call who had been listening to your show, and he called us and he said, he wanted to know, do I have enough assets? I'm really tired of working. I'm burnt out, etc. And he didn't know if he had the resources, and he didn't have the knowledge to get to the answer of that. So we helped him prepare a Protect and Grow blueprint. And by doing that, we helped position his money for income and cut back on the risks that they had in their current portfolio.
Thank you, Tim. If you're in your 50s or 60s, I want you to speak with my friend Tim Stearns, TJ Stearns Financial Planning. Tim will help you structure and optimize your savings to prepare for 20 to 30 years of enjoyable retirement. Call Tim today to schedule your free consultation and get your free Protect and Grow blueprint. Call 1-800-640-2256. Again, that number, 800-640-2256. Tell him I sent you when you call Tim at 800-640-2256.
Platform safety is critical in your commercial and industrial facility. Keeping people safe and meeting OSHA requirements isn't optional. That's why Vans Industrial offers free platform inspections by professional structural engineers who know exactly what to look for. Problems with platforms, ladders, or stairs can lead to costly fines or worse. Vans Industrial helps you meet OSHA standards to protect people in your facility.
Hi, I'm Dave Van Camp, president of Vans Industrial. With decades of experience, I bring long-standing industry knowledge from inspecting, correcting, and replacing countless platforms to make facilities safer. Vans Industrial is a specialty contractor equipped to modify or replace steel catwalks, handrails, stairways, and ladders. Our union building trades professionals fabricate and install high-quality steel systems that create safer work environments.
Call 833-VANS-IND for a free platform inspection by professional structural engineers. See what else we can do for you. Visit vansindustrial.com. That's VANS Industrial.com.
Hey, if you're living with joint pain, listen up. I want you to try something different. You don't have to live in pain every day. Have a conversation with my friends at QC Kinetics and tell them I sent you when you do. They offer all-natural regenerative treatments for joint pain. I've seen the results and personally recommend Dr. Caravelli and her team. So stop saying to yourself, this is just how I am now. It's not okay. Stop being fatalistic. Get back to the normal you, the one who was active and carefree. QC Kinetics is helping AM 560 listeners with pain from arthritis or injury in their knees, their hips, and their shoulders. Now they're moving again, golfing and running without surgery or long recovery. The science is real. The treatments are natural. Your body knows how to heal. QC Kinetics will show you how without surgery. Don't watch summer pass you by yet again, stuck on your couch, afraid to move. Take action today. Schedule an appointment right now. Consultations are free. Call 312-827-6261. Again, 312-827-6261. Call QC Kinetics at 312-827-6261.
And now, it's time for the Cat's Corner.
This is John Catsimatidis, the Cat's Corner. Well, I remember the movie Mr. Smith Goes to Washington. What happened? We have too many politicians in Washington that know nothing about business. Why? We need more common sense in Washington. Whether we're talking about the federal government, state government, you need common sense. We need the balance of power in our government. Doctors, lawyers, accountants, professionals, business people, and blue-collar workers. And that's the only way we can come out with common sense. Putting on taxes and regulations without knowledge of what happens. Some of the states are not doing a good job. All they do is raise taxes. And then when they need more money, they tax the taxes. I mean, you got to laugh about it, but it's happening. We need people that have common sense, a balance of power in all our legislative functions to be able to operate our country, our states, our cities more efficiently. This is John Catsimatidis, the Cat's Corner.
President Trump has triggered a $200 billion tech disruption, and Wall Street is asleep at the switch. This $200 billion investment in chip technology could make today's artificial intelligence chips obsolete. Technology that will make today's AI data centers a thing of the past, like IBM's old mainframes. While most investors are focused on old-fashioned AI, there are three companies quietly building a $1 trillion triangle that could transform every tech sector on Earth. These three companies are gearing up to develop and manufacture supercomputers the size of a dinner plate. Institutions like Vanguard, BlackRock, and State Street are pouring more than $200 billion into this AI revolution. Investment guru George Gilder has been predicting tech revolutions for more than 40 years, including the iPhone, Netflix, and Amazon. Now he's got his finger on three companies whose technology will change tech forever. Log on to TrillionDollarTriangle.com to find out which three companies are working on what could be the biggest tech disruption since the internet. TrillionDollarTriangle.com. That's TrillionDollarTriangle.com.
Hi, I'm Ken Mariotti, owner of Woodland Windows and Doors, a third-generation family-owned business since 1969. We know you're bombarded by choices when shopping for new windows or doors, so we're inviting you to experience the Woodland difference. For decades, we have been transforming living spaces with Marvin Windows, a fifth-generation family business. Marvin replacement windows have been known to increase the warmth of your cold rooms by 10 degrees. Think about that, 10 degrees warmer. When you welcome Woodland into your home, you will get a product expert to transform your living spaces, full-time, dedicated professional installers that you can trust in your home, along with the best products like Marvin. These are the reasons we're proud of our 5-star reviews and family legacy. No gimmicks, no pressure, and upfront pricing are why Woodland Windows and Doors is your trusted window and door expert in Chicagoland. Visit woodlandwindows.com to book your free in-home expert consultation. That's woodlandwindows.com or stop by our showroom at the corner of Lake and Geary in Roselle.
AM 560, The Answer.
Speaking of black political power, as we were, Maryland Governor Wes Moore, he's a presidential aspirant. He was asked what he would do if his adolescent son came to him and wanted to trans. We'll start there with black cultural critic David Cipher at 8:38. Now we check the headlines with Mike Scott.
8:32, Dan, here in Chicago on AM 560 in the QC Kinetics newsroom. Secretary Pete Hegseth and other Pentagon officials are testifying this morning before a House Appropriations Subcommittee about the president's $1.5 trillion defense budget request. Minnesota Democrat Representative Betty McCollum led off the questions.
The president just recently said yesterday that epic fury is not over. Military operations have continued. We have a naval blockade, and both sides are exchanging fire. They did so over the weekend.
Congress has held several votes on a war powers resolution to try and limit the war against Iran, but none have managed to pass both chambers. Democrats have filed an emergency appeal to the U.S. Supreme Court, seeking to halt a redistricting rule by Virginia's top court. The state court had invalidated a ballot measure that would have handed Virginia Democrats an additional 4 winnable U.S. House seats. A woman killed by police officers in suburban Mundelein on Monday. Officers were called to a home on Ashbrook Drive around 6 p.m. Police say a woman rushed at them with 2 large knives, and she was shot by one of the officers. The Lake County Major Crimes Task Force is investigating. And authorities are naming the teen who was killed in a shooting during a post-prom party over the weekend in northwest Indiana. LaPorte County Coroner's Office identifies 17-year-old Javon Townsend is the victim of gunshots fired Saturday night at a home in Pine Township. Cubs 3-game set in Atlanta. White Sox host the Royals. A check of the roads comes your way in 2 minutes on AM 560, The Answer.
Scott Jennings doesn't see the joke.
Jimmy Kimmel gave this mock dinner speech.
Our First Lady Melania is here. Look at Melania, so beautiful. Mrs. Trump, you have a glow like an expectant widow.
Laughing at that they were. Do you get it? Folks, they aren't hiding it, and they aren't sorry about it either.
The Scott Jennings Show. Weekdays at noon, right before Hugh Hewitt at 2 on AM 560. The Answer.
Platform safety is critical at your commercial and industrial facility. Keeping people safe and meeting OSHA requirements isn't optional. That's why Vans Industrial offers free platform inspections by professional structural engineers who know exactly what to look for. Problems with platforms, ladders, or stairs can lead to costly fines or worse. Vans Industrial helps you meet OSHA standards to protect people in your facility.
Hi, I'm Dave Van Camp, president of Vans Industrial. With decades of experience, I bring long-standing industry knowledge from inspecting, correcting, and replacing countless platforms to make facilities safer. Vans Industrial is a specialty contractor equipped to modify or replace steel catwalks, handrails, stairways, and ladders. Our union building trades professionals fabricate and install high-quality steel systems that create safer work environments.
Call 833-VANS-IND for a free platform inspection by professional structural engineers. See what else we can do for you. Visit vansindustrial.com. That's VANS Industrial.com.
I'm Ed Evans, CEO of Consumer Cellular. If you're over 55 and with one of the big 3 carriers, like Verizon, you may notice they don't talk much about their 55-plus discounts. That's so customers like you keep paying their regular higher rates to boost their bottom line. You deserve better service. With 100% US-based experts, better value, with plans starting at $20, and a company that's built for people 50-plus, like me. Not convinced? Give your current carrier a call, ask about the 55-plus plan you've earned, see how long it takes to get a real person on the line, and if they try to talk you out of it. But if you want something better, call Consumer Cellular. We've got the same great coverage, and our US-based experts can get you switched in about 20 minutes. Switch now to Consumer Cellular and get your second month free for a limited time. Call 1-888-FREEDOM or visit consumercellular.com for your second month free.
Taxes, fees, and other third-party charges will apply. See website for additional details.
The following advertisement includes a celebrity impersonation.
The summer heat in Chicagoland is no joke. And if your old air conditioner is making funny noises, you may already know it's time for a new unit.
Look, your air conditioner, it's a disaster. People are telling me it's the worst ever.
Don't sweat it, literally. When it comes to cooling your home, Air Right Heating and Cooling does it the best.
And they love our country. Beautiful people.
Rebates are still available. Financing is flexible. And at Air Right, installations are smooth and professional with no surprises.
It's beautiful. Some people say it's the coolest air anyone's ever felt. I don't know. That's just what they're saying. It's doing an incredible job. Really tremendous.
Plus, tell them AM 560 sent you and Air Right will give you $56 off any service. Visit Air Right Heating and Cooling today at AIR-RITE.com. Again, that's AIR-RITE.com. Air Right Heating and Cooling. Doing it right since 1959.
This hourly segment is brought to you by The Real Story with Jeannie Ives and Amy Jacobson. Heard weekday mornings at 11 on AM 560. The Answer.
8:38, the news, the service of American Beam and Steel, structural repair license contractors for your home and business. Search for American Beam and Steel online to schedule your consultation directly with the owner, Mark, American Beam and Steel. Team Hochberg Traffic Center time. Lots of accidents out there off the expressways and toll roads. We'll start in Aurora, Eola, and Deal report of an accident. Elgin, Route 25 and Kenyon report of an accident. In Gurnee, Route 132, Grand Avenue. Slows up at Brookside Drive with an accident. Lockport, right lane blocked on State. Southbound, just south of 9th with a bad accident. North Barrington, an accident. Route 22 and Route 59. Roadwork delays showing up on Route 53 northbound between the Ike and Northwest Highway, and slowing up on the Jane Addams right now eastbound between Meacham and Route 53. Traffic is a service of True Green, the easiest way to get a golf course quality lawn. Don't wait. Sign up at TrueGreen.com. Get your first application for $9.95. True Green, let the pros do the work so you can enjoy your weekend. Hurry, offer ends 5/21 and restrictions do apply. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. First, a check of your forecast in the Air Right Heating and Cooling Weather Center. Cloudy, windy, warmer. High near 75, but watch out for afternoon gusty winds and a chance of a downpour.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. Only the biggest stories, only the biggest guests, and only the biggest opinions. This is AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. We're going to talk a little bit more about remapping with our next guest because he wrote a good piece on the topic, but I wanted to broaden the cultural discussion. Among the wild things that AOC had to say while sitting down with David Axelrod at the University of Chicago's Institute for Political Skullduggery that he runs, where she has ambitions bigger than president. She's going to change America. The American Revolution was a revolution against billionaires. She also had this to say about guns vis-a-vis a discussion of violence, particularly centered in big cities.
That, it may be different in every community. Yeah, it is true that in rural Vermont, the way guns show up in that landscape is very different than in Brownsville, Brooklyn. You should vote differently in that community around it.
Do you think she understands the implication of what she's saying? For more on the topic and others, please be joined by David Seifer, freelance writer, Black conservative culture critic, and contributor to the American Spectator. David, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you, man. I'm blessed. I'm happy to be here, man.
Great to have you. So guns work differently in the hands of people in, say, Brownsville neighborhood in Brooklyn as compared to Bernie Sanders land. Are you picking up the same thing that I'm picking up in terms of what she's implicating, even if she doesn't understand what she's implicating?
Well, I think that, she does a good job of speaking to her base, and she wants to highlight to the people in the inner city how you need extreme gun control because, this is what's going to happen to you, and this doesn't happen in Maine. It's the classic us versus them paradigm, basically.
Yeah, right. We need to keep guns out of the hands of law-abiding persons of color in big cities, but not honkies in rural Vermont. I mean, so what does she say? I mean, that there's a clear, right? She's making a commentary on groups of people who are not the same in terms of their behavior, maybe in terms of their skin color, but not in terms of their behavior. And this is the thing the left can't bring itself to admit.
Yeah, I mean, correct. I mean, unfortunately, the left a lot of times speaks with a lot of racial undertones, and they know, that's what their base responds to. So somebody hearing her may say, yeah, we have to keep guns out of inner city because, it's not like Maine because of race. And that's the main focus that they want you to focus on, not, people enjoying their Second Amendment rights, but, just that us versus them mentality and who's going to get killed and, just focus on the racial undertones.
Yeah, I would say that law-abiding residents in big cities need the means to protect themselves much more than do syrup makers in Vermont,
I agree.
I wanted to get your take. I know you wrote about the Virginia contretemps over the remap and the nullification of that referendum. I think what Maxwell Frost had to say, he's a Democrat from Florida, the Orlando area, member of Congress.
Mm-hmm.
What he had to say is sort of illustrative of what we're getting from that caucus.
My heart is heavy for the country because we see that this is going on all across the South. And it's important for people to realize that this isn't happening in a vacuum. This isn't a plan that just came up because Donald Trump said to go redistrict. This is the product of a 60-plus year plan to bring this country into Jim Crow 2.0, an era where they've traded in the hoods for suits and ties, an era where they are trying to use our democracy against us to take away not just our right to vote, but our right to protest, our right to privacy, our right to health care, our right to be able to actually have life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness in this country. And they see the South as a threat. And that is the reason why some of the worst voter suppression tactics we see are in the South.
It's like a hot, steaming cup of information to start your day. It's Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
This is Albert Mohler for Townhall.com. The Trump administration has launched an investigation into Smith College, one of the 7 historical all-women's colleges in the American Northeast. Why the investigation? Well, Smith College is, and has been since 2015, admitting biological males. The 7 sisters have been granted an exemption going all the way back to the 1970s to Title IX legislation. They were allowed to be restrictive as women's colleges. The Trump administration is basically saying you can't have it both ways. That is, claim the historic exemption, or you can admit biological males. President Trump made the point very clear in his second inaugural address. He said, quote, as of today, it will henceforth be the official policy of the United States government that there are only 2 genders, male and female, end quote. I will argue that that statement was one of the most important and courageous statements a president of the United States has made in recent years. To his credit, he's been pushing this through. It's a necessary step towards the restoration of cultural sanity, and for that clarity.
AM 560. The Answer.
All right, I think we've got David Cipher back. David, sorry about that disconnect.
Yeah, no problem.
So Maxwell Frost, the Jim Crow 2.0 rap. What say you?
I mean, I think that the voters deserve clarity, and that's why in my piece I try to give the voters clarity. Basically what's going on is it's a tit for tat, and it's part of national redistricting, basically arms race. And, you know, he wants to frame it around race. But in my article, I really critique what is the problem here, which is gerrymandering, because the real losers that nobody's talking about is the voters, the people. Because let's be clear, gerrymandering, you know, is just a political tool used by either political party to create safe seats or safe districts. And so you end up in a situation where in a working democracy, the voter is supposed to elect the politician, but now the politician is electing the voter. And they keep it focused on race so they can kind of keep this arms race going. And I basically try to address that in my piece.
Yeah, I mean, you know, we're looking right now of the 435 seats, 18 are considered toss-ups. And so one of the hopes, at least from my perspective, with drawing maps that don't require much expertise in cartography, if you just keep it to, you know, contiguousness, compactness, and respect for municipal borders, as the Supreme Court promulgated, the norm should be, then you're going to have more competitive races. And there's more opportunities for people across the spectrum, you know, across the identity spectrum. Isn't that what we should want?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, we, as the voter, and I detail this in my piece, you want the politician to work. You want them to earn your vote, which means that they have to convince skeptics. They have to build a coalition. They have to work outside their comfort zone. You don't want a situation where basically the general election becomes political theater, and the most important thing is the primary. And that benefits the parties because now they don't have to speak to the voter. They could speak to their most extreme base. You know, just think of a Democratic state like Virginia that wanted to become 10-1. I'm talking about their advantage as far as seats. They wanted to take it from 6-5 advantage, which is a slight advantage, to 10-1. Now they can say the same things that Frost says all the time, and they don't have to speak to the voter. They can speak to that extreme fraction and just, you know, get an easy win.
Yeah. Yeah, and do you think sort of the crying Jim Crow 2.0 is getting stale for black voters? I mean, this, you know, the Georgia election reform law was Jim Crow 2.0. You know, the MLB under pressure pulled the All-Star game out of Atlanta, and the whole imbroglio there. And then the next election, you saw record black turnout. So obviously that election reform law did not inhibit turnout. It didn't deprive anybody who wanted to vote of their rights to vote or any other rights. Right. It's just like everything that they don't like is Jim Crow 2.0 or white supremacy. And it's always talking about, black political power, pretending that there's not an ideological, the main thing is not race, but ideology, and which is what you're seeing from these leftists, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, I think as far as to your question about the Jim Crow 2.0, I believe that politics has a way of pulling people in, and they know right now with the redistricting wars, a lot of people are upset, and they can utilize their anger. You know, hopefully they're hoping they can utilize their anger to maybe get some rulings overturned and basically kind of push the redistricting arms race in their favor, so to speak.
Yeah, well, it would also be nice if people picked up on the fork-tongued responses you're getting from these decrying the Virginia Supreme Court decision, as well as the remapping that's going on. Like Jim Clyburn in South Carolina said, you know, just because they're drawing a map that they think is going to provide only one Democrat seat in South Carolina, don't be so sure. I think we could win 3 seats. Well, wait a second. If you think you could win more seats under the new map, then how can you then turn around and say this is Jim Crow 2.0?
Right. Well, I believe that a lot of times, if you see things within the prism of race, it's easy to call every maneuver Jim Crow 2.0. But, the fact remains is that, like you said, either we need to go back to municipal borders, or take independent redistricting commissions and actually give them teeth so they can't be bypassed. So the redistricting is not in the hands of a party or a person. And my main goal, and I detail that, is just keeping the power with the people.
Yeah, I mean, there's a concept. I want to get your reaction to something else on another topic, and this is still in sort of the conversation about black political power that's being so widely discussed again. Wes Moore, of course, is the governor of Maryland, and he's a possible presidential candidate in 28. He was recently on Patrick Bet-David's podcast, and Patrick Bet-David put this question to him. Listen to the question and response from Governor Moore.
Your son comes in saying he wants to transition. What do you do?
Well, first, I mean, if it's my son, so I love him regardless, right? And he's always going to have my undying love. That's me, right? I want to make sure that I'm involved in understanding where he is, how he's feeling, the way he's feeling, why he thinks it's important. If this is a journey that he wants to go down, I want him to always be comfortable in his own skin. And I want him to always know that he has a partner in me to help him along that journey.
Would you advise him to wait till he's 18?
If this is how he is feeling, and I feel like I'm closely tied to him, I'm not going to advise him on something that he feels is
at 14 years old, Wes?
No, I understand it. But what I'm saying is, the most important thing for me is I want him to feel safe in his own skin, safe in his own decision making, but also know that at 14 years old, I want to be involved inside of that process as well. I'm not going to condemn him nor castigate him. I'm not going to kick him out of the house. I'm not going to do anything that's going to hurt him.
Yeah,
but I just want to make sure that I'm involved.
Not going to do anything to hurt him. I'm going to let him hurt himself, I would argue. What's your reaction to that answer, David?
Believe it or not, I think he tried his best to be measured. Know, the issue around transgender, I believe, has been losing steam for a while. So you can see in these comments, he's very measured, like he has to, stick to how Democrats feel about that issue, but at the same time, keeping in mind that the general public has shifted away from those transgender culture war issues, and people want to know what's going on with the economy, what's going on with gas, and they've really moved away about personal issues, and which the Democrats continue to lose on.
Yeah, but what does it say about who Wes Moore is tethered to? I mean, the audience for that response is, frankly, is radical left suburban women. It's mainly single. It's not. I mean, right. It's not the regular person that you're talking about that has these very focused concerns on their quality of life. And so when Wes Moore says something like that, or any politician says something like that, I mean, do you get the sense that people are like, okay, this guy is not operating on the level. He's weak because he won't say what he really thinks. He feels like he's got to tailor an answer to cover his bases.
Yeah, I mean, anybody who his speech that he thinks his donors, people that want to vote for him, like you said, people that maybe on the extreme ideological lane, and he doesn't want to offend those people because, like you said, he could be a potential candidate in the future. So I think he knows what he's saying.
Since there's so much discussion about the state of black political power in the wake of the Callis decision by the Supreme Court, what's your perspective? What's your outlook in terms of black political power? Whether, if you even look at it in those terms, if it's on the rise or the wane?
Right. I will say this. I mean, the outrage is expected, and even though I am a black conservative, I understand the outrage, but I also look at it like how can we grow black political power? Because if black political power is connected to a court ruling, it's not very strong. It depends on the wave of a hand of a court. So maybe getting rid of gerrymandering, getting rid of all of these things that put the power in the hands of politicians will actually raise and help black political power, because now people have to earn their vote. They maybe become a swing vote or anything like that. But if you pack everybody into a district and guarantee them, a black senator, you kind of lose that incentive. You kind of lose that, it has a double-edged sword where you kind of lose your power a little bit.
Yeah, but it sort of creates a ceiling, right?
Yeah, because if you think about it, in some of these states, there's one majority black district. And if your focus is tethered to holding on to that one minority district, I just feel like there's no room for growth. And then you have to, assess, how much power are you really gaining? Or like you said, are you going down or up?
David Cypher is a freelance writer, black conservative culture critic, and contributor to the American Spectator. His piece over at The Hill, Virginia Democrats won the vote on the map, but the voters lost the fight. David, thanks so much for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thank you, man. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Pleasure. And he joined us on the alphawealthgroup.com answer line.
It's like a hot, steaming cup of information to start your day. It's Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer. Looking for some hope? Listen to Leading the Way with Dr. Michael Youssef on our sister station, AM 1160. Hope for your life. Weekday mornings starting at 8. AM 560. The Answer.
All right. Thank you for joining us on another edition of Chicago's Morning Answer. Again, don't forget, tickets still available, Cigar Night. That's 560answer.com/cigar.
President Trump will head to Beijing. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News, where he will hold talks this week with China's president.
We think this is going to be a monumentally important meeting between these two great leaders.
And U.S. Ambassador to China, David Perdue, also tells Fox.
We've opened the door for China to help us with Iran. They get 48% of their oil through the Straits of Hormuz.
Iran has halted most shipping through there while the U.S. military keeps up a blockade around Iran's ports. With no end to the conflict in sight, the president calls Iran's counter-proposal garbage and the ceasefires on life support. Fox's Trey Yingst reports from